What's up and welcome back, fellow Siege spectators and players, and day 2, the final day of the NASI LCQ Open Qualifier number 2. Man, the acronyms have just been killing us all weekend long. But obviously today I'm not joined by Glitter again, but we brought on another legend in the scene. Happy, thank you for joining me today, my friend.
Well, thank you so much for the invitation. I was telling people yesterday at the end of my personal stream, I don't know where I'm going to be tomorrow, if I'm streaming something, if I'm going to be on a friend's stream or what, but I knew I had to be somewhere for the end of this qualifier. I couldn't make it at all last time for Open Qualifier number 1, so I had to put all of my time into Qualifier number 2, because this qualifier has been a lot of fun to watch so far. But I will say, some of the games are not the closest. It's safe to say that that is going to change today with some of the teams we've got playing and some of these matchups. It's going to be a couple of very good teams fighting for those last 2 spots.
Yeah, yesterday we had 2 of the 4 games were very close. Honestly, it was crazy that we started off with Aimkey versus T1 as game 1, and that one absolutely delivered all the way to overtime for that one. And then that final where we got to see Vipoa and HUD try and take down Nadeshot was awesome. But the games we've got left today, same thing, you said it, are some fantastic ones. So let's pull up the bracket, check it out. We're going to pick up the first as we wait to see where Nadeshot is going to play.
Yeah, so it'll be Yippe versus Cuzzzzz. Yippe is coming into this as a team that I got to watch quite a bit yesterday. They were playing pretty well. Yesterday, I would say on the whole, a pretty good team, but it's safe to say this is definitely the toughest match that they'll have faced so far. They've played some good teams to get to this point for sure, but they're coming in and still as a team looking to prove themselves with a roster of Toggles, Rin, Arc, Logger, and Millie. They also have, I believe, Trevmac on the team as well, but it looks like he isn't going to be playing in this first game. I'm not sure who the starting player is, if it's Trev or if it's someone else on the squad, but for the lineup they have registered for this game coming in, it looks like it's Toggles, Rin, Arc, Logger, and Millie, and then for Cuzzzzz, they're coming in with a different team on the other side. That's the console stack in them, so that's going to be very exciting. And then on the other streams, we've got Jazzman Casts, who's streaming Moneyball versus Hakikimori, and then you can check out WBZ Cards. Those are both their Twitch channels for CLB versus Karn & Co. Then that semifinal is going to be happening later. Meanwhile, over here, we've got, like I was saying, the Yippe Cuzzzzz game into Nadeshot Help, and the winner of that game, match 61 on the bracket, will make it to the closed qualifier. So we've got plenty of action here, and later on in the day we'll get to see one of the 2 teams making it to the closed qualifier from the open quals.
This is crazy to me that we've seen so many of the console players moving into the PC competitive scene. We talked a lot about that yesterday, but Stompin was sort of that guy that started the transition, and since then, you take a look at in the quarterfinals, Cuzzzzz, CLB, Moneyball all have got some of the very good console players that have made that transition over, and it's interesting to me that scene sort of is transitioning into this competitive PC world,
Yeah.
and pulling it off and doing a great job.
Yeah, they've been doing a phenomenal job, especially a team like Cuzzzzz to make it this far into the bracket. And they've got every opportunity to even make it to the top 4, as the game they've got coming up against Yippe is very winnable. Like I was talking about, Yippe are coming in with a lineup of Toggles, Rin, Arc, Logger, and Millie. Also mentioned Trevmac was playing at some points yesterday. They only subbed him in about halfway through the day, so maybe he'll come in later if they end up making it to the next matchup against Nadeshot Help. Maybe not, who knows. But they're up against Cuzzzzz, Letters, J Guns, Invincible, formerly known as both Reese, Holly Tupper, he's gone under a few different names, along with Boots and Zach Killa. So it's a team of 5 players who are incredibly individually talented. I was talking about it a little bit on my stream yesterday. This is one of the last teams you want to play against in a qualifier, because they're all great shooters, and the less time you have to prep for them, the easier it is for you to get caught off guard by some crazy happenings. They already got a big win over a Joe and Alex PRS stack yesterday, so excited to see what they can pull off today.
Yeah, and today, figure out where we're going. I honestly was really hoping to see Fortress. That's one of those maps that is new in the pool, but in a single elimination, best of one bracket, the chance of actually getting to see it was 0, I think. But man, I was really hoping for it.
Yeah. I think everybody was. We were all hoping to get it at some point, but instead we will see Bank coming up, and we should already have the game ready to go. So
It is,
we
it's time.
don't have to worry about it at all. We'll hop right into Bank. It's just a best of one today to determine the second team to make it to the final game on this side of the bracket. It's Yippe versus Cuzzzzz starting off on Bank.
Now, for me, this is one of the things we see, like, feels like consistently now that teams are not banning the hard breach operators on a few of the maps. They want to get rid of sort of these cheese ops that the Shopify Rebellion guys always called it. The Ying, the Grim, the Glass, people that sort of make it difficult on the defenders. And rather than like banning out the hard breaches, you're forcing the attackers to play fundamental siege where you're opening up sight lines, focusing on the hard breach as that piece of it rather than trying to, sort of catch you off guard, which I think really plays into what you mentioned on how Cuzzzzz plays the game. That's the style they like, so I think Yippe banning those is a good call.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with you. I know a lot of them have been getting very popular in terms of bans lately, with Grim being one of the ones that specifically since the last patch saw a major uptick in how much bans he was receiving. That in large part due to the fact that not just is he a good operator, but also the mute changes made it so that mute is no longer really an effective Grim counter, and so you don't want to have to deal with
attackers need to locate and defuse bombs.
You don't want to have to deal with him as much as you used to, because it's a lot harder to deal with him. There isn't really as much that can directly counter him, and you already see it. Boots at least teasing the idea of the Grim. Still 30 seconds, and instantly. That's why we don't talk about operators before they get played. My point still stands. Grim's still a very big threat. He won't be one of the ones that gets banned out, but a lot more operators getting left out later. Also, two other operators that got switched off of, but I'd imagine we'll see more of later in both Daedalus and Capitao. Both of them already being, teased to an extent. Daedalus not necessarily the same kind of cheese. Capitao definitely a little bit more utility than you would call straight up cheese, but it's the same idea of like bringing a bunch of stuff into one round to try and throw off the defenders as much as possible. That was something we saw a lot of teams struggle to do against Yippe in the games that I was watching that they played up to the qualifier. Not a lot of cheesing against them, so it'll be interesting to see what Cuzzzzz does in terms of the cheese department.
This is crazy too that they picked this the Teller's Archives as the place to start, right? You talk about catching someone off guard. Picking the quad site to start off a single elimination best of one is a pick. It's an interesting one. It feels like why bother, why go for the sites that defensively are the worst in the map to try and do your battle at, right? Gain a couple of early wins. Feels like maybe you're going to try and catch the Cuzzzzz attack off guard, like you've got some strats built for that site, but it's pretty rare that teams feel very comfortable on the Teller's Archive site. So I hope this works out for Yippe.
Yeah, to me, this is, you're looking at Cuzzzzz, and I'm looking at it as, it's a team of 5 players I don't want to take a fight against, but strategically, I want to challenge the team as much as I can, because that wasn't necessarily an area where they thrived when 3/5 of this team was playing an element, and so it's going to be interesting to see how they adapt to a situation like this if they just try and turn it into a TDM-style game. Bank a big open map, so I think Cuzzzzz were already very happy to see that into the ban phase. The Super Shorty's going to walk straight into Janitor, and Zach Killa is going to open our best of one with a kill onto Millie. That's almost entirely second floor control to the attacking side, but as Ark gets a kill and Logger retakes, they've actually had it taken out from under their feet. Logger gets another frag on the board for Yippe, and it's been turned on its head as 2/3 of the attack are left rappelling out on the garage balcony, but it is just not going to do anything unless Yippe give them the opportunities, and they're smart enough to know to just hide in those corners.
It feels like they're moving a little bit slow here to start off, which is sort of counterintuitive with what I thought we might see from the console stack, sort of playing the TDM style, but like you said, still outside, spending some time, not really in position yet, and you're talking about only 53 seconds left. Don't have a ton of map control at this point, and down a man. Cuzzzzz is certainly fighting on the back foot here to start this one off. And with 45 seconds left, it's about to get going.
Oof, Ark with a rough challenge straight onto J Guns, though. Could have tried to play that man advantage for later in the round, but instead he ends up giving it back, and Letters is going to go one step further. Toggle's at least able to shut down Reese, though. So there's still opportunities for Yippe in this round, and there are only going to be more created by that frag from Logger. It's only left to J Guns, and he's barely got any health on him. Those Goyo fires are going to present even greater of an obstacle than before than they would otherwise if he had a little more HP, because one step into him would have been his end, but instead he'll meet his end at the wrong end of the MPX. It's Logger to shut it down, and it's Yippe to take round number 1.
Not a bad defense there to start off. So the quad sight works. It feels like it pads the stat a little bit on the off site. And one of the things Glitter would be rubbing in my face right now, because I always talk about how absolute garbage the off sites are in Siege statistically. Don't play it if you are a defensive team, and Yippe pulls one off there. So now they get to try the other mid-floor site, which is certainly interesting too, that we've seen this feels like the mid-floor sites in Siege have really risen in prominence, especially with teams that are very good at either defending or attacking the vertical, right? Spend your time upstairs, force the team into those engagements on the wrong floor before making the transition down. And right now it looks like Yippe is very much willing to fight that battle and force Cuzzz into doing it as well, which could be catching them off guard.
Yeah, Yippe, I like the read. I'm not a huge fan of the second floor site just because it can be really awkward, especially if the other team knows how to play rappels well. It is not a site you want to go to. They can instantly put a ton of pressure onto the site itself and only really need a little bit of control otherwise. And there isn't much relevant control other than just the second floor itself and maybe like archives that you can use to really shut stuff down. So if you're going against a team that you want to try and contest in open space, you want to try and force them to take as much of the map as possible, then, you know, first floor over second floor, a very reasonable read 2 times in a row. And I think that's the read that Yippe have into this one, but it looks like Rin, before they contest any of the map, is trying to take a member or two off of the Cuzzz side of things with an attempted spawn peek out from Electrical. Nothing gonna happen though, as they're already up to the roof. Never mind, he did catch Boots. I don't know how.
I love that play.
But what a kill that was.
Printer window looks like the observer's trying to find it for us. I think that was maybe printer window, but you know what? I love the fact that this defense taking a little bit of an aggressive approach outside, going to try and put pressure on the attackers before they even get in the building. Now, I mean, J Gun, who was it that answered back with that one? You know, even to that up, Arc got that one.
Yeah. Yeah, playing under a very different name today, but that's still Arc. He'll get a trade back. J-Gun's trying very hard to find an early lurk, but now Cuzzz is kind of standing on uncertain footing. They're worried about maybe this retake from these other players on the second floor, but now one of them fades away, and Logger's died. It's only Millie left up on the second floor as the play-in from Zach Killa to try and take the tellers is going pretty well at the start. Now, Arc is tucked inside the elevator, could drop back down the hatch, and Holly Reese is able to find her in. So this is only going to get better. Now, Millie is left away from the same floor as the site, and Arc is in a really different spot as well. Millie will at least find a kill back on Letters, though, but that's going to mean the site is wide open, and Reese is absolutely going to take advantage if they let him. They started to get back into the site on the defensive side, but before they could do that, Reese is in and planting. The cover is there from small office, but if they can double team this guy before the plant's fully down, that could maybe work out. But Reese gets the plant down, Zach still stands, and now Reese will cover his own plant. With Millie in a 1 versus 2, trying to isolate these fights one at a time, thanks to those Kiba barricades and the DMRs shred through those things before he even has a chance to reload. A third one goes up, but all that does is let him know that Reese repositioned and made it a third kill for himself. Cuzzz are on the board after 2.
That was a significantly better round from the Cuzzz team as well. Despite getting that early spawn peak out of the electrical side, I mean, they bounced back quickly. And you said it, there was a lot of the action happening upstairs, but it certainly seemed like Cuzzz was pushing a little bit more direct downstairs. The ace was just sort of decimating. So if Yippe was hoping to force Cuzzz into playing the more fundamental style of Siege, they answered back and said, we can absolutely do that. And despite it being a better statistical site than the archive side, yeah, they pick it up. Great win there from Cuzzzzz, setting themselves up nicely. And now Yippe doesn't have the K to try and defend
Defenders,
this
protect your bombs
the
from being
hatches,
defused
so
by
they're going to
attackers.
have to play, feels like a little bit more of a vertical game, and we'll see how they respond to what is this is a very technical site, so see if Yippe can hold on to this one.
Yeah, I feel like that could favor Yippe based on that last round, because a lot of different people in a lot of different places finding a few different kills through some very effective lurks. Now, that's one of the big reasons why I would say, as this game develops, I feel like Cuzzzzz probably won the map veto to end up on bank, just because it's very big, it's very open, there's a lot of potential for this to go incredibly well for them, because that's the kind of team where, like I was talking about, strategically you could challenge them, and maybe that's where they may not be able to step up to you. And I think that's going to be very prevalent on sites like Basement. But when it comes to just one-on-one engagements or playing like ranked style where you're just lurking in somewhere very early, that's where Cuzzzzz are going to be scary. That's where you're, as a team, we're incredibly scary. And I feel like that's going to be very effective on bank, given how big and open of a map it can be. Something like maybe a Nighthaven Labs as well, same vein as that. So I'm excited to see how Cuzzzzz get into the map, but I do like the read from Yippe to go to the basement, because I think that's the kind of site where, like we were talking about, it's technical. You got to try and, you know, challenge Cuzzzz's ability to use their util well.
Yeah, for sure. And this is mostly the same stack that was the year team that fought in Element 6, right? This is...
Yeah.
Is it the exact same stack? I think they only switched out
No,
one
it's three.
player, right?
They switched out
Three?
two. Zach and Reese. Zach and Reese are new. They dropped Skite and Chicks.
Ah, yes. Yeah, I think there was... I know people were looking for the Skype games yesterday, and Jay and Letters were both in the chat yesterday, so I'm glad that we're getting a chance to stream this game and cover that, because the people have certainly wanted this. Now, it's crazy, the Nook lurk. Look at all of these blue outlines coming to find J Guns in. They have to have some piece of intel on him, knowing that he was there. But the DMR does its work halfway as Millie answers back. Man, we are in a DMR meta right now in Siege.
They're already on the hatch though, so Boots is able to shut down Millie as he tries to get back into his site. That's a really good team play from Cuzzzzz, and they're gonna challenge that preconceived notion that I had, that they're all just kind of lurking around playing ranked. They can play off of each other. Boots being on that hatch to hold for that push, exactly what happened onto Jay, and that makes it all the more important that Jay was able to get his one. Now Rin is really trying to challenge Cuzzzzz to manage their util well, otherwise they're gonna burn a lot of time on this blue staircase. Problem is, he's on an island, and even if he gets one to take with him, that could be a big issue later on. They needed that kill and it toggles onto Letters, but he just can't quite control the SMG-12 enough. The
No way!
comes out, but it's a little bit awkward because he swapped right in the face of an enemy, and Boots is eventually gonna take that kill onto Rin. Now there is still a little bit of util left on the site. For only 30 seconds, those Goyo fires and smoke canisters are going to have to do big work in keeping them out. I think they might be out of Goyos on this defensive side. They do actually have one more, so they'll be able to hold a little longer. But Cuzzzzz are already into the site. They're already deep in Letters. It's starting to take kills. Reese is trying to stick a plant, but they're already so close, but his whole team is swarming, so they're not worried. Cuzzzzz, with a big round in the basement, they'll take their first lead of bank.
Yeah, another great round out of Cuzzzzz. Man, you said it during that one. It felt like they were not quite, like we were thinking they were not going to be able to play that fundamental style, and they absolutely answered back. They cleared out the utility, even though they still had the Goyle canisters and 2 smokes at the very end, still able to gain some space in sight and put some cross lines on the Yippe defenders that were still left alive, but certainly set up by a couple early picks, and they didn't throw away that lead. Now, it always felt like this was a team that maybe struggled on the mental side if they started to get down in the round count, that they had trouble fighting back. So if they can carry a lead through, at least stay ahead by a round or two, that feels like they're in a very good position to pick up this game.
Certainly does, especially starting attacking side of any map. I know bank can sometimes be good for attackers, but I'm personally just come from the school of thought that the better at start you can get on your attacking side, the better you are set up for the rest of the game. Not just because, well, duh, the more rounds you win, the better your start is. but you get to go to that defensive side later, and you can really try and control the pace of the game if you have the right read on the way the game is. So far, looks like Cuzzzzz are absolutely reading well into what Yippe are trying to do, and Yippe are fully committed to just staying away from that second floor. It was not a one-time gimmick strat to try and run the off-site first and see if they could get a cheeky round early, maybe chalk the mental and confuse Cuzzzzz a little bit. The strat today is stay away from the second floor at all costs. I would imagine the idea is to try and force Cuzzzzz to clear as much of the map as possible because Yippe doesn't trust Cuzzzzz to be able to do that. But whatever the thought process is, this is certainly a very unique approach to defending on bank, as Yippe is going to run it back on Tellers and Archives for the second time in round 4.
At this point, it's the only site that they've been able to win, so maybe it feels comfortable to go back to that, which is a wild statement to say on bank in 2025. But okay, Yippe, let's run with it for a second. What can you guys pull off on this one? It sort of changed up the lineup too by Arc switching into the Vigil, and you know, I question the Vigil play in several of the maps. It just doesn't feel like, with all of the good defensive operators that are out there, right? Azami typically on the board here, maybe a little bit better for covering, but Arc switching on to this Vigil, you know what, he better get some serious utility out of this op and catch this Cuzzzzz team off guard, but it certainly feels like they know exactly where he's at this point, and is not in a good spot.
They're trying to coordinate on him a little bit. You could see the IQ getting that info off the scanner, called a teammate over. That Skylight is a very awkward to fight around. Zach is still able to get the opening kill elsewhere, though. It's Logger going down. It's Boots going straight into CEO, and it's really under heavy pressure unless he can duck back out immediately, and he will do just that. The second floor is almost entirely Cuzzzz's. It may not be soon if Ark can continue to contest. There was a kill in for Toggles, but he'll go down after that to Boots. And they also seemed to spot someone out on Marble. Ark is the only contest of the second floor that is left on this defensive side, and he'll actually fade away for now. Try and take a fight onto the player and Shark.
Nice shot.
That's the ace dropped. A great shot for Ark, and he actually wants to continue to press his luck into the second floor. As Millie, inside his small office, awkward fight against J Guns, doesn't land any shots through the bars, but for now, Ark actually retakes up to the second floor, so that's going to be the biggest problem for Jay. It's not even going to be the guy who almost killed him from below, because another guy almost killed him from a different angle. But everybody on Yippe is going to drop off the second floor, and we stand at a 3 versus 3.
I mean, it's that strategy of spend a lot of time upstairs, force the attackers into spending tons of time capturing space, and then fall back. They still have to make the transition downstairs to even get this plant down. Zach does have the diffuser, but man, J Guns goes down in a hail of bullets. Zach Hilla still the top frag on this team, alive with the diffuser in hand. I think they got a chance here with 30 seconds left.
Zach's going to smoke off his right angle. That's exactly where Rin is, and now Rin is the only one left because Ark got himself with an impact nade. So Zach's into this site. He's planting, and Boots is upstairs for the cover. The C4 is going to have to be good, but it just didn't know where the plant was going down. So Rin, you're the only hope to bring this round back, a round that looked so good for so long. Cuzzzzz have not just found their way back into it, but they found such a great position. And with Boots still upstairs, Zach could easily have a really tough time in the fight, but it just doesn't matter. He had the insurance up top, but he'll take the kill anyways. It's a nice, clean round and a third in a row for Cuzzzzz.
Not only third in a round, but third in a row, and they managed to get the plant down. They're playing objective-based gameplay on top of picking off this the Yippe team across the board. It doesn't feel like they've had any serious success in any place. That first round, yeah, maybe catching them off guard with playing it, but after that, Cuzzzzz is absolutely locked in, and they are, I feel like, decimating this Yippe defense. We haven't seen anything that felt like it was a significant factor that might have them win another round. Like, they need to adapt in a big way to Cuzzzzz very quickly. We're talking about a defense on bank that they should pick up at least
need to locate
2,
and defuse
maybe 3 rounds. We're hoping for 4. They're not even going to get that opportunity because Cuzzzzz has put in all of the work, tied this thing up, at least a 3-3.5 for them. That's an incredible start to this best of 1. And if you're just joining us, welcome in everyone to the SI Last Chance Qualifiers, Open Qualifier number 2. We're in the quarterfinals. This is a win or go home scenario for both of these teams. One map to move on.
Winner of this one plays in a BO3 against Pro League players to see if you can make the LCQ. You gotta earn it. No handouts here. And so far, Yippe only earning one. They won that first round on the offsite of Teller's Archives, but not even the run back of Teller's Archives is enough to save their skid. It's been a rough go. So rough, in fact, that they're going to go up to the second floor. They haven't played this site once so far through this series. They haven't really challenged Cuzzzz's ability to manage the util well either, so I feel like in the sixth round I would like to see them maybe try the basement, but that's personally just my take on it. Second floor seems to be their take on it, and already Cuzzz let them know that it's not going to be any easier here, as 60% of the team is onto that iconic plaza rappel, and they are going to be staring straight into the site for quite some time now. Already the pressure is on these defenders.
Well, and you've got nobody on the ATM side trying to put pressure on the rappel, which feels like a bit of a miss there from the Yippe team. Sort of all locked in on site, and this is a site that feels like it needs a little bit of extra space, a little bit of extra pressure around to keep the attackers from taking some of this space. They're going to have basically a top square at this point. Doesn't feel like they've really got anybody contest over on the stock side. No one in ATMs. They're giving away tons of real estate to Cuzzz, and maybe baiting them in a little bit at this point where they can maybe, get it a 2v1 scenario. But honestly, it feels like just giving away this much area with this much space early on is a bad call.
The Logger's at least going to make sure they don't give up picks too, as he'll find the first kill of the round, but an instant trade out of Reese is going to even us back out. They recognize players in the hallway. But Jay, awkward, trying to move into stock. Now he's fully stunned out as well. Does actually trade a decent bit of damage, and Zach is taking down toggles. So this is starting to get sketchy. Cuzzz take all that preliminary control so early on, and now they're going to start to get the plant down too. There's a wrap through stock coming through for the defense, but they've got to do something about this diffuser. They will have Rin at least stop the plant for a moment, but he himself is gone. So nothing left to stop Holly, nothing left to take down Letters, at least not Arc. It's only left to Millie, and he's gone. Cuzzz 4 in a row attacking on Ben.
With the diffuser down again, coverage from the windows is able to hop immediately in. Doesn't feel like Yippe had the defensive utility in play to try and deny that. Echo did a great job, at least initially, but Ren has got to stay alive long enough to be able to block that plant for a second time after they go down. That's it. Free plant in the corner by the window, and then you've got rappel coverage as well. And Cuzzz was just hit all of the marks they needed to. A couple the opening pick as well against Yippe. They're just struggling right now on defense, which is certainly surprising on Bank. I expected this to be a little bit more of an even match so far, and it has been very one-sided. Cuzzz is doing a fantastic job today.
Absolutely are. And I think we just saw in that last round why Yippe has been so, I don't know about scared, but reluctant, I guess, to go to that second floor for so long. Because Cuzzz is not the kind of team that's going to waste any time on a problem that they don't necessarily see. If they don't see anybody somewhere, they're going to take that control. They're not going to think twice about it. They may take the control without even droning it. They're just going to assume it's free. And that's why the second floor can be really rough. You already have people on the windows immediately. They're in square as soon as possible. They're into stock only about a minute and change into the round. It's a lot faster than most teams would do that. Most teams are going to try and, throw some nades, drone it out a couple times, clear the util. Cuzzz cannot possibly be bothered by that. And so that's what they're taking advantage of in that last round. It felt like it was Cuzzz just kind of getting that really good positioning early and then just waiting for Yippe to make the mistake. I mean, they're already in executive lounge. Boots is not wasting any time whatsoever. He could have killed Logger on the staircase. He still might. Logger does actually get away, but this is what you're dealing with on the side of Cuzzz. Any roamers you have who aren't too close to their teammates, that's just food for those Cuzzz roam clears. That's just free picks. That's all they're seeing.
Yeah, that's a great point, is that they feel very comfortable taking this quickly. And the thing that I'm a little worried about here, and it's not maybe a little too early to start talking about it, but I don't think they're going to have that same sort of success against Nadeshot, against the T1 team. This one looks like it's pretty one-sided, but it feels like right now they're taking advantage of some serious Yippe mistakes that I'm not sure Nadeshot is going to make when we get to that point. But still early, so Yippe, I'm not over you guys yet. Let's find the shot, and Ark is the guy that answers back. Jeez, it felt like I'm calling him out. He takes down Letters. Letters says blessed, but honestly, just a good shot at that point. 5v4, one of the best positions we've seen Yippe in, it feels like, in 3 or 4 rounds.
And look at what the defense is doing in response to getting in this good position. Everybody is back in the basement. This is an outstanding read out of Yippe to try and get away from those roam clears. You have a man advantage. You haven't had a ton of those, honestly, thus far through the game. And basement is a site where you can take your man advantage and then just scurry back to the objective. You've got smoke, you've got Goyo, and you've got not that much time left on the clock. There's still enough for Yippe to work with, but there are no obvious lurk positions for them to work into. That's what Yippe really likes. They're going to have to just do this the good old-fashioned way through util management and all those lame things that most people probably won't be excited to do. And probably the case for Cuzzzzz as well, as Yippe are just challenging them to get into the site without giving a way in.
That's one of the things that feels like a big transition difference between the PC and the console world, as they feel very comfortable moving quickly and forcing them into playing it. And I think that's the reason that Cuzzzzz is doing so well so far. But man, they're going to have to fight hard now, as that was Diffuser, top of blue. They're going to have to go for kills here rather than try and get that into the objective this time.
It's not going to work out. 1 on 5 for Zach. I think he can get it maybe a couple more kills. He could try to hit 10 by this point in the game. That would be impressive after 1 half. He's already gotten a 9. Impressive enough as it is. And he'll at least let Ark know that he might have won the first and last rounds of the half, but we won everything in between. He'll get to 10. Takes a second death, but double digits after 6. Very impressive individual start for Zach Killa, and even though they lost round number 6, still a very impressive team start for Cuzzzzz to go 4-2, attacking into back.
And honestly, a 4-2 half when you're on the defense, like the way that whole first half had gone, that scoreline to me doesn't tell the story of how one-sided it was, with Cuzzzzz doing a great job managing the attack on Bank. Like that honestly could have been and should have been a 5-1 half with how well that they were playing, and a little bit of that mental showing through at the end. Right, we saw obviously shooting bodies is something the community sort of shies away from, but I think that's starting to show some cracks in the Cuzzzzz armor, and maybe a little bit of frustration with the way that particular round went. Yippe is a team that can still win this. Cuzzzzz was, we take a look at the map bans. They had to choose between Consulate and Bank, so both big maps, and I think they were comfortable on either. So this is really the place they wanted to do battle, and I think with how well the attacking half went, you could see that they were prepared for it.
Side swap's going to change a lot, though. Big differences coming into the second half. You can already see Yippe have a pretty good read into what Cuzzzzz want to do. The Aruni ban, along with the Kaid. Kaid definitely strategic in terms of making it easy to get into the basement when they have to attack it. He prevent that electrocution. It was also matched by a Habana ban, so it has to be a little tougher to open up than usual, but you could bring some can openers in the back, so it's fine. But the Aruni ban is the one I want to look at, because it's Cuzzzzz. You know why they're running Aruni. It's because it's a DMR with an ACOG on defense. They would love to run that. Instead, they're going to run... Boots has got a DMR into this round, but also, it's Tubarao, so plenty of other reason to run it as well. But generally, that's just kind of shows the mentality that Yippe have coming into this game. They're most concerned about the guns on Cuzzzzz. And so instead of banning out some utility that could really bother you, even like a Mira or a Goyo, both of which are being brought in this first round, they think it necessary to ban out the Aruni just because it's a very good gun. It's a comfort pick for somebody like Boots. I know I've seen play it quite a lot. And that's kind of their mindset coming into this game, is it's like, yeah, you can have all the utility you want. We don't care. We just want to make you as ineffective in the ones as possible, because that's where we feel we're getting hit right now.
Yeah, that's the reputation preceding this team about how good they are on the individual fights. And again, hoping from a PC side that, yeah, we can beat you in the util meta side of this game. And sort of feels the same way on the Cuzzz side, right? They're like, you know, if we take away those sight lines, force you through the windows and doors, that we can try and win some of those battles directly by taking away the Hibana and the Ace. That's the ranged breach operators. That means those mirror windows are going to be tons of value out of that op. That's a great change here. And even if you have to fight through a couple of the Candelas, it is going to be worth it to keep the mirror windows open, as we saw both a breach denial, right, on the main server wall, and just giving good cover.
A really good opening pick onto J Guns as well. Catching him off early. Advantage now to Yippe, and they are really pushing this defense back. Didn't see a ton of shield at all through the first half because Yippe weren't really ones to run them. But already they're being ran down by them, recognizing just how potent they can be. The entire map, other than the basement, is clear of defenders, and that's going to make it very easy for Rin on the shields to walk players down. Reese is going to have to run through the fire, and even then he'll get caught out by Millie on the hatch. Another player going to challenge into him, though, in Letters. With a clean headshot onto Millie, is at least able to trade out the death of his Mira. But with 1:20 to go, Yippe are already right outside the objective.
Got a minute left here, and I mean, you're still talking about 4v3 at this point, and Cuzzz still has enough utility in pocket. 3 of the Goyo canisters. It's interesting, Letters still has one of those, one of the Goyo canisters still in his pocket. Like, that definitely needed to get down. And Boots has got 3 of the Zotos. They can really slow this whole operation down, but are they going to? That's the diffuser going down.
Is right on the other end of it. Does he
Didn't
even
see it?
He's gonna walk straight into the hatch and then died of Boots' P4. They had no idea where the plant was going down. Eventually, Rin dies, but Boots will also die to Arc as well, and a little bit of a tomfoolery round, but it's very clear that we may just be looking at a pretty attacker-sided bank, and Yippe will start that trend off in round number 7.
It's hard to tell whether or not that's an attacker-sided bank or if that was just a comedy of errors happening downstairs in the basement, right? He's planting in the smoke, doesn't see it, like just felt like total chaos at the end rather than the very strategic part of Siege. And I think the bands showed that is like they're wanted to try and force some of that play, but ultimately, you know, this feels like it's going to devolve into just a little bit of chaos here at the end, and we've gotten closer, right? Yippe is now within 1. That 2-round lead that Cuzzz had felt very, felt substantial at this point, but after that previous round, and it starts to feel like maybe some, they're starting to crack a little bit under the pressure. So Cuzzz, they got to lock in. They're going to try the basement one more time. I think it's a good call. This is fundamentally one of the great sites here and generally a defensive stronghold. So expect them to find it and adapt, take away a little bit of craziness and win here.
There's plenty of opportunities to get back into this series, and they will take another swing at the bank basement defense. Switch things up a little bit. They have the Denari on board for this time, which wasn't there last time. So that'll be a little bit of a change. Make it a little more awkward to try and break into the site itself, as some of those drops of hatches will be met by the wrong end of the Denari lasers. Otherwise, though, similar idea. And I think their main issue this time, the main thing they're worried about is going to be making sure that we don't lose that body nearly as early. They'll be dealing with something similar, though, so they'll have to be ready for it, because Yippe are rocking an eerily similar attacking lineup to what they brought last time.
Happy, Goose and I were talking about this a bunch yesterday, the Denari. How you feeling about Denari and those trip connectors? My thought was, it almost feels like he is overpowered in the current meta, and a nerf is likely incoming with how good that his gadget and kit is currently.
I think I will say I conceptually think he's really cool. I love the skill ceiling that's brought out with an operator like that is Letters with a great shot onto Arc, and this time around they're going to solve that issue that they had last time. Giving up that early death. It'll be interesting to see how Yippe responds, as nobody's left on that first floor or second floor from Cuzzz. But no, I think I don't know about overpowered. I think having so many tripwires And it being a kind of like an ability that has so much like skill expression can make it seem really good when you're up against someone who just has really good Denari laser setups. I think in the hands of most people, he's not overpowered yet, but I definitely think that as we start to get to know him better and better, he could very easily be overpowered and start to be way too powerful as we move in. Wait, they're just gonna drop.
Look at this hot drop. They had 4 stacked on top of it. Man, that Tuberao Zoto was absolutely perfect. He's going to be able to slow this thing down, but no. No way.
No. He still takes the opener somehow, but he'll end up getting down for it. Toggles is straight through the hatch. The rest of the team on Yippe that are alive are all down this one hatch, and they're stuck in the same corner. They've got to move out soon, and thanks to the Candelas, they'll start to do that. Toggles has got to advance into gold soon. Rin will get the finish, but Toggles is going to die on his attempted cross. Zach's going to get another one, and Reese will shut it down. The hot drop was not nearly the right play, and Cuzz will keep a cap on the situation, and they get their first defensive round.
It's the risk with using the Ying as the strategy to hot drop into such a big area is you blind half your team at the same time, and Cuzz still had the Warden available to be able to fight against that. And even if you have a Blitz as the guy that's sort of spearheading that whole attack strategy, yeah, Warden's able to deal with that. And, you know, he's just locked up on that rotate hole. Cuzz played that very well. Yippe tried sort of a gimmicky attack there into Vault and just completely fell apart against a team that was prepared for it. So Cuzz didn't even need to play that fundamentally significantly better. They just needed to, they just allowed Yippe to make a few mistakes and trying something crazy again.
As many bombs as they can.
After that round, Zach Killa up to 13. Performing when
on
the squad
fire.
needs him to. Oh, absolutely. And he's a guy where he's been on a bunch of different teams through T2's history. He hasn't found that success that I think his individual skill would enable him to. He's been on a few teams. Some of them have struggled. I think his best finish was a top 8 in Chal series. Otherwise, I don't know if he's made a playoff. So, has some doubters, but proven him wrong at least so far. In a very important game to get one game away from playing in the LCQ. Now they would still have to beat Nadeshot help to try and get past that. Cuzz certainly looking good to at least keep something of a streak alive on defense though, as they're finally on the board here. They've still got a little bit of buffer room as well. And they'll move up to the second floor to see if they can find any success on this site this time around.
Yeah, and even if they make it to the LCQ, man, we talked a little bit about what they have waiting when they get there. You're talking about DZ, Oxygen, and Cloud9, in addition to the guys that already proved themselves in the T2 arena with Alix and SOS coming in as the element winners. So it's a stacked lineup, and one of the cool things I love about this LCQ is true T1 versus T2 battle in a double elimination bracket in that closed qualifier playoff. So it is going to be awesome to get to see it. But they still have got a lot of work here. First, 3v5, 2 minutes left. Action starting to happen across on the archives side, and right now it feels like Yippe is in a decent position, but Cuzz is still blocking them and just slowing this overall attack down. Now he's had to rotate back outside.
Yeah, it seems like the general focus of the Yippe attacks is to try and catch out isolated roamers on this defensive side, and Arc is able to find Boots. I think Boots was on the first floor, so that's what they're doing again. They're continuing to try and catch out these isolated players in different spots in the map. There's a really wise way to play from Yippe. The initial attempt with the Blitz didn't work, but they'll still find their opening kill, and now they're getting into stock. It's not just Rin on the Blitz, though. Logger right behind him on the Deimos, trying to put even more pressure on the defense. And Arc, gonna be the... Oh, my mic fell over. Gonna be the next one to find a kill. As it's a second frag found, Reese will go down. Nade on Letter's position is almost going to take him down, but Rin has actually been down in the meantime. The aggressive play into Jitter is actually going to work for J Guns, but they're all on top of each other. It's 2 down now on the attacking side. There's still a chance to get back in it, but with every kill that Cuzz finds, it's another response from Yippe, and it's a 1 versus 3 for Zach Killa. Good as he's been this game, he's not up to the task. It's a good round for Yippe, once again, keeping their heads above water.
And Cuz just seemed like they were, or just sort of, I don't know, just tripping all over themselves in the hallway. Like that was just kind of crazy how many bodies it sort of stacked up and baiting the down player into it, but absolutely just didn't go their way. It like doesn't feel like we're seeing them be very, a lot of ghost pressure around the map, sort of attacking from different angles. You talked about them trying to catch catch the Cuz players in one-on-one roaming situations, but when it came down to it, they were just all stacked up in the hallway, and certainly didn't work for Yippee. It felt like at the beginning, but I don't know. Honestly, don't even know how they managed to pull that off.
One thing's for sure is that we are seeing
Attackers need to locate and defuse bombs.
a very fast and loose game in general, which is awesome. It's exactly what you want to see out of a qualifier. Two teams who didn't really have time to do the prep on each other, but what they can, call back on is previous experience playing stacks of similar players in qualifiers, and it seems like they both have good ideas as to what to expect, and that's why Yippe ran so much blitz, specifically to run down one player at a time with 2 or 3 players on their own side, trying to catch them away from their teammates, because they know Cuz are going to try and send a couple people completely out on their own to try and win isolated ones. The blitz did get banned, but you see Rin switching right over to the Blackbeard to try and, I would imagine, do the exact same thing. Find 1 or 2 members of Cuz all on their own, maybe looking for a spawn peek, maybe just looking to make a roam play happen, and take them out of the equation early.
I haven't really seen Cuz run any of the projectile deny. Just hasn't really fit into the operator lineup they've used. So honestly, I'm not mad about the Blackbeard pick as well, because it feels like, bring along the set of nades along with the shield in addition. Maybe a little bit slower attack, maybe a little bit of a slower pace, but certainly I think that works really well with the rest of the defensive utility that Cuz is bringing along. So maybe a few more nades tossed in to just cause more chaos in sight is what they need. So, and they're going to do that with clearing out util here from toggles to make sure that everything is gone from the barbed wire. Give them freedom to move about the map a little bit easier.
And with that freedom, Millie may really try to take advantage as he's towards the middle of marble stairs. Aware of the threat of someone jumping down on him, could easily get rotated on at any moment, but he's eventually going to think better of it. He'll be looking for a lurk at some point. Nobody on the first floor at all. Nothing to worry about in terms of immediate threats to his position. It seems like the idea of this lurk is very much known by Cuz. They've got a player towards top marble looking down, worried about that threat of that walk-up.
Seeing this fight is happening in stock. Look at this. The Flores drone perfectly placed to push the Izami out of position, and there come more of the nades popping in. Ooh. Wow, no way Zach gets that kill. Ren was there ready for it, but just a little bit too slow to be able to take advantage. I didn't see what sight it were running on that gun, whether or not it was the hollow or just a little iron sights to make that faster, but dropping back down is going to put pressure potentially up from the back of those stairs, and nade over the top. I love that play.
Trying to take out the clash shield, or at least just dislodge her from it a little bit, but it isn't going to work. Jay still stands, and Millie doesn't anymore. 3 versus 3 now that Reese has found that pick. That's going to be influential. And they're still trying to hunt down Jay inside of janitors. It's just not going to work. He's given them slight opportunities, but continuing to bait out these shots to no avail. Reese also made his way into lobby to try and deal with the pressure on the windows, and Letters is finally there to back up Jay. He had been unhelped for so long, and he'll finally get the help that he needed. Toggle's the only one in the building. Arc praying that he can pressure the defense just enough to force someone into his line of sight, or that he can actually make the play in his sight himself. Arc is into the building, but Reese is able to catch out Toggles, and there's no chance for you, Arc. Cuz is going to hit match point after 10 rounds.
Match point scenario, and man, if you're a Yippe fan, it is match point and open qualifier point. Cuz is 1 round away from moving on to that best of 3 battle with the T1 team. Nadeshot LFO Looking to continue some dominance that they had across the board yesterday. They had a couple maps that came in close, but honestly, right now, Yippe is on the back foot. Got to be perfect for 2 just to send this thing to overtime. And with how well Cuzzzzz has been playing, that seems like that is going to be a really tough fought battle here for Yippe. They have not found their footing on attack. Doesn't feel like they've really been able to work around Cuzzzzz, even though, it's felt a little chaotic. It feels like an environment that Cuzzzzz thrives
Attackers need
in.
to locate and defuse as many
Yeah, you
bombs
really
as they
get
can.
the feeling that this is exactly what they wanted to happen in this game. Let things get crazy. Trust your individuals to win these fights, and it's what we saw out of them a lot through Element. They would let games get very crazy. That's where they were happiest. Sort of controlled chaos against them, maybe using a lot of cheese was normally what works, and you can see Yippe trying to replicate that success. Because they're still able to stand up in the face of it. Some very good individual plays. Obviously, Zach Killa having a great game so far. A lot of contributors across the scoreboard, but in that last round specifically, it's the guy who's at the bottom of the scoreboard, Jay Guns, who impressed me the most with his ability to just dodge through Janitor, playing around that class shield, and not lose his life for it somehow. It was incredibly impressive to see him find that success and live that long in that position. But no clash going to be coming into round number 11. Instead, they'll go back down to the basement. Similar idea to previous rounds, but the Goyo's been banned out. In return, they'll be bringing letters on the Maestro instead.
I love the Maestro play downstairs too. This just feels like something that sort of plays into the chaos, right? Gives you a little bit of the extra intel, be able to shoot back, maybe try and steal some of this, deny some of the intel that Yippe is fighting with. If you can shoot some of the drones, and then Zach Killa running the Denari and the trip connectors again. I want to see what sort of craziness he cooks up with that. And it's interesting they didn't choose to go with any of the other air. Then I mean, smoke is still available. They could have tried the Tachanka, but they're going to stick with just, going the util side.
As the play comes into open area, Boots is upstairs. They didn't drone him at all, and he'll be killing
Wow.
arc through the floor. Incredibly well played. The Blackbeard is here to try and catch him off, and the constant lean spam to try and make it awkward, but Boots is unfazed.
Just better.
He's got no idea what you were thinking to disrespect him like that, and it's a 2-man advantage now for Cuzz, defending the bank basement with all the util in the world to play around in this late round. It's getting to the point where it's looking like dire straits for Yippe.
And a minute 23 left. Still players in the garage, backed up by the deployable. Jay Guns hits loggers as well. No way, 5v2. Boy, they have absolutely come alive. Had a great first half and carried that momentum into the second. They're just hunting down the Yippe players and is just up to toggles. Man, way too much for this guy.
1 on 5. Millie doesn't even believe, and how could he? How could you possibly believe that these individual players on Cuzz, who all look so strong thus far through the game, are possibly going to bottle a 1 on 5? Take the kills if you want them, Toggles. You're not taking the round, and you're definitely not getting to the best of 3. It's Cuzz versus Nadeshot Help to see if the Pro League team can handle the float from the console kids, or if we will have one of the most unlikely teams at the start of this qualifier make it all the way to close.
Yeah, you said it. Unlikely team. I mean, 7-4 victory. Big GG's there to Cuzz. They played an incredible game of Bank, right? Across the board, very good. And we said, didn't get a chance to watch them much yesterday, so only familiar with their game from the console scene. But, man, they put up a good battle. And Yippe, you guys had a good fight, making it all the way to the quarterfinals here in the Open Qualifier number 2. But sorry to say, the road is done. We're going to have to watch. You said it, Cuzz taking on Nadeshot, the T1 team. Do they have what it takes, Happy?
It's gonna be interesting for sure. It'll be very exciting to see if that'll be what it's. Oh my gosh, totally lost my train of thought. But it'll be exciting to see if they've got what it takes. I think we've been doubting Cuzz a lot along the way. I didn't know if they would make it this far when I looked at the, Joe, Alex, PRS stack they were up against in the round leading up to this one. They didn't manage to get that, or they managed to get over the line there. They're up against a good team in Yippe. They get across the line there. But at what point is it just, you're expecting too much out of a team like this? Maybe they don't have that point. Who knows? They could still very easily beat Nadeshot Help. I mean, they almost lost yesterday in that best of one on Nighthaven Labs. So they're a team that we know can bleed. They can be beaten round by round, and you can make it competitive. I think the big question is just going to be whether or not Nadeshot Help is going to be ready for what Cuzzz is bringing to the table. Because it really felt like, even though Yippe thought they were ready at the start of the series, Cuzzz just continued to subvert expectations and end up in places that they weren't expected all throughout that game. And that was really what kind of brought them over the line, is that sort of a surprise factor. And I think they're going to need that element of surprise as much as possible going into the series against Nadeshot Help.
Yeah, they can definitely be unconventional, and whether or not that's going to catch Nadeshot off guard is a bit of a question mark here, but looking forward to it. So we'll take a quick break. We'll get that lobby set back up. Best of 3 to decide who is moving on to SILCQ. Let's see. I know I keep on messing up the acronyms, but LCQ closed qualifier coming up, my friends. Stick around. Thanks. Welcome back, fellow Siege spectators and players, to the 6th Invitational Last Chance Qualifier, the last chance for these teams. Best of 3 coming up here. We have got one more game to decide who is going to closed, and joined again today. Appreciate you filling in for Whiskey Glitter. Happy, thanks for being here, man.
Of course. Once again, thank you for the chance. We've had a great day so far. First game was exciting. It was a lot of scraps in terms of on a round-by-round basis, and on the whole, pretty good game for Cuzzz, who ended up earning their way to the last game before they're able to make it to closed qualifiers. This is easily the hardest one, though. They've played against a couple T2 players. They played against a pretty good stack of players in Yippe. They also came off of a pretty good stack beating them in the game before that as well. But this is a whole new challenge. You're playing against people who spent the last year of their lives in Pro League in Nadeshot Help. So it's going to be pretty exciting to see how this one goes.
Yeah, dedicated to the game and on the PC side. So this, for me, Cuzzz has spent a lot of time moving into the PC tournaments. We talked about that console crossover. They've done some great stuff so far, and it would be wild to see this stack at SI. And I know they got a lot of fans in chat. Appreciate you all being here for this one. So we'll show the bracket real quick, and then we'll go over to the teams. But man, this was a Karn & Co victory over on Cards' stream just a few moments ago. That one's huge.
Yeah, Karn & Co, it's a team that hasn't really kept a lot over the course of the past few months other than just the namesake of Karn. It's basically just whoever he feels like playing with for that tournament. But this team is particularly exciting coming into this qualifier just because it's a team full of players with a lot of potential. You know, Zonky we just saw in the grand finals of Element 6 playing with CLB. Raid Bullies had a really good run when he was playing with Moneyball, and he impressed a lot of people in his first real attempt at making PC, or making a statement in the PC scene. Toaster and Deity, 2 longtime T2 players who are quite solid, and of course Karn himself, who's proven many times that he's able to make it work with the best of them. And then Hakiki Mori, the team they're taking on in the other semifinal. So we'll either see Karn & Co. or Hakiki Mori make it to closed. I think no matter what happens, the winner of that game, or unless Cuzzz wins this one, the winner of that game will be the least expected team in the closed qualifier, what with CLB going down by now. Aimkey's stack that did well in the first qualifier, not able to make it as far in this one as they had to play Nadeshot Help quite literally immediately. And Karn & Co. and Hakiki Mori, 2 very good T2 teams, but they didn't quite feel like they were up there in the conversation of the SOS, the CLB. So I'll be very excited to see who wins that one. That's happening on Jazzman Cast's Twitch stream, as well as WBZ Cards, and with a Z at the end, his Twitch stream. You can watch either one of them. and they will be streaming that game for you. We are the only ones who are streaming Nadeshot Help versus Cuzzzzz, though, and you definitely want to watch that one too, because this one's going to be a lot of.
Yeah, best of 3 battle here between Nadeshot, and we got to see these guys all day yesterday follow the team through the bracket. Fens, Center, Epic, Bino, and Eddie had some fantastic games. They had 2 close ones out of the 4, and 2 where they really dominated across the board, and they've got some maps that I think are work really well for this team, and I'm looking to see whether or not Cuzzzzz wants to try to play into that and fight it. We'll go ahead and take a look at where we're going for this best of 3.
It'll be exciting for sure, as it's Lair the first one to go. That's the pick of Nadeshot Help. Cuzzzzz are going to pick into Clubhouse, and then Nighthaven Labs will be the decider. Cuzzzzz picking into Clubhouse makes a lot of sense, given that that is a map they played incredibly well on through their first little bit as a team in Element 6, and then Nadeshot Help picking into a very complex map that maybe they don't think Cuzzzzz can handle playing them on. It'll be very exciting to see how Lair ends up going, as that's also a map that you were talking about before the game started, before we really got into it. Nadeshot Help played really well on yesterday.
Yeah, Lair was the place that Aimkey beat Nadeshot in qualifier number 1, so we thought that was a place they were vulnerable. They showed up in a big way, though, so now we get to see how are they going to handle Nighthaven today versus the console stack. So this is, when we look at the rest of the map bands, too, for me, the console teams really love Clubhouse. That's one of those maps I think that they really love and cannot wait to play on. So the fact that we're getting to see Nadeshot say, yeah, you guys thought we were vulnerable on Lair yesterday. We're going to pick it to start today. And then Cuzzzzz says, all right, we're going to play our favorite map, move into Clubhouse as that number 2, and then Nighthaven, the decider. I think, honestly, that one could go 50-50. So both of these teams absolutely looking to square away, hit their map picks to move on.
And I'm excited to see Lair specifically as that first map pick from Nadeshot LFO. A map that you'd imagine they'll be pretty comfortable on up against the likes of Cuzzzzz. It's not really a map that I thought Cuzzzzz played much, and I'm excited to see how they try and respond to it. They also, it was picked into them, and they're on attack first, which means that they wanted the attacking side start. So that's definitely unique. That's not something you see happen quite often in terms of picking into that attacking side start first, especially on a map like Lair, which can be relatively defender-sided. There are definitely times where the attack does well on Lair, for sure, but I think since its inception, it has been a little more defender-sided, at least based on the win rates I last heard Fett talking about in the last YouTube video that I watched about Skyscraper. But either way, we'll still get into it. Cuzzzzz are going to attack into Lair first, and this is a map where you feel like whether they win or lose, or if they lose it, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal, because this is the map out of the series I expect them to have the least success on. But if they win it, that's early signs of distress for Nadeshot.
Yeah, 100%. This is a map, and for the people in the chat and the community there watch the Rival Roller series, that watch Roller Sundays, they kept Lair out of the map basically still at this point. They avoided and continued to play Oregon. It was actually one of the reasons Glitter and I loved casting some of those matches, was we hadn't seen Oregon in so long, but the controller players loved to continue to play on Oregon. They kept Lair out of the pool, so I think they got a lot less experience on this maps than the PC comp and PC players did, just because of that. So that to me gives a significant advantage, at least to Nadeshot initially. Or question is, did Cuzzzzz put in a ton of work on this map to try to get themselves fixed on it early?
After going back to the Element 6 run that Yippe had, in their last 4 series, they banned Lair. Every single time they played in a best of 3. Actually, no. In one of them, CLB banned it first, before Yippe really had the chance to ban it. Other than that, Yippe, who 3/5 of that team is now on Cuzzzzz, it's everybody but Chixt and Skite, as we were talking about our last series, they wanted to ban Lair immediately in all 3 of their most recent best of 3s. So it's a sign that maybe they don't love the map, and already Datkilla tries to get a lurk early on, but he's not going to succeed. There will be a trade, though, as Bino over-aggressive and gets knocked down by Boot. We could easily find this finish. He's even ready for another one to swing from the other side of
Wow.
Mezzanine. It's a double kill for Boots. And Fens is going to be humbled right quick. This is not a pushover of a roster that you might be thinking they are.
Yeah, I think that opening pick over on the operational side that Zach Hilla sort of pushed independently, just went for it initially by himself to start this thing off. It looked like it was a bad call, but I mean the fact that that Boots was able to follow that thing back up and take down 2 as a result of it. Look at this, they have already got that wall open and the plant is going down, and wow, what a miss off that.
Attackers are activating the diffuser.
No
He
way.
got it! How did he get it down? The fires took so long to start pluming that they
No
actually
way.
just get the plant down anyways. Big misplay for Devin. Formerly known as center, I guess might still be known as center, but Epic is able to get 2 in the return, trying to get back into his sight. He's the one who's close, and now Devin finally going to make up for his misplay by taking down Reese. It's only left to Boots, and Epic is ready
Wow.
for a third.
Wow.
Nadeshot LFO, even though they let the plant go down when they probably shouldn't have, they make it work in the retake all the same.
Yeah, Glitter definitely would have been talking smack about the Tachanka shooting and missing that opportunity. I mean, he had the fires going in the right place, but the fact that that Reese was able to just sit in the corner, just barely miss it, would show that he's not quite as effective as he needs to be. But honestly, he was able to follow it up with a couple picks afterwards, and that was a huge play, right? You're stuck outside the breach thinking you can maybe hold on to it, but Lair's got that double-edged sword playing out on the balcony from the 2 windows in the hallway that covered that spot, and center took advantage of it and just crushed them. So Nadeshot looked vulnerable at the beginning. Man, a little bit of a roller coaster ride on that first round of back and forth.
Yeah, I think that lurk very quick, that immediate plant attempt
Attackers
as well.
need
I
to
think it's an
locate and
early
defuse
sign to
bombs.
Nadeshot that, yeah, you might have won the round, but still, you were not fully ready for what Cuzzzzz is going to bring to the table. You need to, from the moment the round starts, from the moment the prep phase timer hits 000 and the action phase begins, you have to be gun up at all times. We saw it on bank, very early plays, very ambitious lurks, even kind of sometimes off of no info from Cuzzzzz, just assuming that there was no one there, just so they could make the play as fast as possible. We saw it on the last map. We've seen it out of this team for quite some time where these guys have been playing, and it makes them a really dynamic and unpredictable team. It also makes them fun to watch. We're going to need to see Nadeshot adapt to that as the series goes on.
Yeah, 100%. This is certainly a game of adaptation, and all of the pressure from me feels like it's on the Cuzzzzz side, right? Nadeshot has been there, done that. They're the team on paper, in Liquipedia, that's expected to win this one. Certainly the better team. I don't know if I'd say David v. Goliath at this point, because Cuzzzzz has put in the work to show up and prove that they belong here late round into this open qualifier. But is it going to be the difference maker? Still feel like there was a lot of pressure on this team, and they've got to hold the mentals together long enough to win a few rounds here versus Nadeshot, even on their map pick.
And already Cuzzzzz into the map, lurking in many different spots. Boots towards bunks. Reese is in range exit, trying to pressure the bulk of that defense on the first floor, and he's actually going to take the opening kill. It's Epic going down. It is a big loss for the defensive side of Nadeshot LFO. Last round, they lost some kills early, but they were at least able to find the opening kill before they lost a couple kills right after. This time around, they're not even given that luxury. Reese is just going to take one off of the board right quick, and Epic shown that he'll have to have a lot more respect for this team in the series moving forward. I don't know how many times this Cuzzzzz roster is going to have to prove to the entire world that they deserve your respect, but they are willing to do it each and every single time.
Yeah, that was a great shot upstairs. The zombie was holed up, right? Using tons of the Kiva barriers, that's sort of all of this utility around her to try to make that a little bit easier to hold on to the first floor position to prevent the vertical play. But, and the guns of Cuzzzzz, the 1v1 gunfights that they're always looking to try and take, goes in their way. And now, how about a triple on top of that? He's going to go down finally from center, but in a 2v4 scenario, this is definitely not over for Nadeshot. Cuzzzzz still needs to be careful with the gunners on this Nadeshot team.
Nadeshot's got a minute to burn through as well, so Cuzzzzz are looking comfortable. Fenn's trying to catch somebody off guard, ratting inside of stock, but it isn't going to work. He'll actually get shot through the floor, and although Fenn's eventually finds one, Jay did manage to kill Sensor on his lurk straight into the site. Now they know exactly where Fenn's is. They're flashing him out. They've got a player holding his walkthrough toxin from reception, and Jay Guns is holding for that plant. It's just gone down. The fire on top of Fenn's as well as the super shorty from the side is a lethal combination, and Cuzzzzz are able to get on the board already in round number 2.
Yeah, they played that basement very well from an attacking perspective, right? Covered the first floor. The opening pick on Epic really was the game changer there for that round. And then good coverage on the hatches. They go for the flank control with the thick lock downstairs. Objective-based gameplay, getting the plant down on top of it. I mean, everything was working in their favor on that round. And Nadeshot came close, right? Got a couple big picks. Center's been, right, hitting his shots today. But
Defenders,
not
protect
quite
your
enough
bombs
there to
from being
close
defused
out.
by
And we're tied
attackers.
up 1-1. They're not going to play the basement one more time. They're going to continue that site rotation, picking up the bunks, briefing sites, and certainly there's going to be a ton of focus upstairs on that R6 room, and that's where most of this team heads initially.
So I will say, I said before we started the show, as we were getting into it on Lair, that Yippe, who is 3/5 of this current team, seemed very very hesitant to play on Lair. But the Bay Harbor Butcher, who are another variation of this team, a team that played in the split contender series that was Boots, Zach Killa, and Reese all on that team, as well as Skype Chicks and
Attacker's objective is to
playing at
defuse the
some point
bomb.
as well, though I don't know if Reese actually got to play any games or not. But they played Lair twice. They beat Wanted Goons and Pack Runners on it. Pack Runners by a score of 7-4. That sounds similar to someone we know, doesn't it? It was the score that Nadeshot, or almost the score that Nadeshot beat Pack Runners on Lair. They won 7-3 yesterday. So the players on this team still comfortable on Lair. Specifically, it would seem Zach, Boots, and Reese very happy to pick it up, and already they are showing Nadeshot just that as well, that they are very comfortable on this map.
That does make sense, since Jay and Letters are the two guys that are coming from the console side that may be a little less likely to play it, just because of the situation in those roller tourneys, they're avoiding it. So sort of a combination of two worlds here colliding on this Cuzzzzz roster, and whether or not that's going to translate into a map win, still yet to be seen. But the fact that they did so well in the basement there gives me some hope, and gives the Cuzzzzz fans some hope here as we get into that first minute of gameplay. A little bit of trade back and forth. Honestly, Bino this time on the Tachanka, so they're comfortable switching the roles around, putting center back on that to the mirror as the alternative.
Yeah, so Fenn's found that first kill on a J, but an instant trade onto Fenn to leave us in a 4-on-4. This feels like that's exactly where Nadeshot would want to be. They're forcing Cuzzzzz to walk straight through these narrow hallways and deal with these Tachanka fires, slowly burning this util. And this is not a spot that Cuzzzzz seemed to be comfortable, as they lost another one. It was Boots going down. Now Reese is going to try and walk straight through the fire. He'll actually get what he wanted. He's still getting damaged, though, and Epic has just taken down Letters. So they are not without the trades on the Nadeshot side. Every time they've suffered a death, it's been traded out immediately. Can't say the same about Cuzzzzz. They're normally the ones to either get the opening kill or end up losing a fight and then not responding to it quickly. There's another good setup for trades here, as this crossfire could be deadly. The walkthrough about to come through, and here's Devin with the frag. It's only left to Reese, who didn't even walk at it. And now he knows that it's probably not a wise decision, as there is not just one crossfire, but technically 3 different ones, given the 3 people who stand here. Almost spots one in the corner by Tetris, but he just is too paranoid of every other angle that he cannot see the forest through the trees. And it is not going to work out for him. It is another round on the board for Nadeshot.
Yeah, that one sort of fell apart and felt like maybe they had a good start with it, but losing the opening picks and then just not really able to take the space that they needed. The vertical, it's one of the things I sort of expected Nadeshot to be a little bit better on across the board, because they show some serious skill being in a pro league, being able to manage the vertical play better. And Cuz maybe better in the 1v1 scenarios, but I don't think Nadeshot is going to let them have those kind of opportunities very often. So it'll have to be them taking advantage of just small mistakes or small opportunities on the Nadeshot side. So gonna see them go up to the 2F again rather than try and play out that basement. So stick with the standard rotation, and this time Cuzzzzz is gonna have to do it without the Mav, who was a piece of the reason they won, or got close to. I shouldn't say they won on the 2F. They got close to winning as a result of the map, but that'll be a little bit more difficult with him off the board.
Attackers need to locate and defuse bombs.
Into round the 4th. Nadeshot LFO taking another shot at that second floor defense. They won it, but it definitely felt like it was a big wake-up call for them all the same, like we talked about after that round. A very quick plan opportunity and a very fast lurk up the mezzanine from who I believe was Reed, or no, it was Boots at that time. But he was the one on the ace, so we got it mixed up with Reese, who's been playing ace since Boots dropped after round 1. But still, Cuzzzzz recognizing that it's going to be a lot of fast plays, and there's going to be a lot of players very far into the map a lot sooner than they might be expecting it. So that's going to be something they'll have to stay ready for. They're going to keep sensor on the Tachanka, even though those Shimikas didn't shut the plant down the first time. Probably just going to tell him to be a little more ready, a little for some plants in positions, or maybe at times that he might not be expecting them just yet. But Cuzzzzz probably not going to change up too much in terms of how they went about attacking it, since they found so much success, just kind of couldn't hold in the post plant.
Yeah, that felt like a little bit of a mistake there that Cuzzzzz was taking advantage of. Not necessarily that the Tachanka was ineffective. He just the initial shot that missed, that bounced off that deployable, sort of disrupted his whole strategy. He had to sort of move out of position. So I agree. I think he's going to be better off this time around. And you can hear Bino dropping one more of those bandit charges. So still getting sights set up, moving some of that utility around to sort of respond to where we're seeing the Cuzzzzz attack start off from. And Reese has been all over this ace. I was wondering whether or not we might see the ace ban as the alternative, because of I feel like how successful he's been overall with this op.
Yeah, we really only saw the Maverick played on that second floor site up here. I don't think it was otherwise. Yeah, so the ace still being brought back. They're allowed to have that, and Zackilla almost walking all the way up the stairs onto the mezzanine. There's nobody left up there though from the defense. They've abandoned the mezzanine. They're content to give it up. Honestly, a wise play. Play behind the utility that you have set up in the site instead. Force Cuzzzzz to try and manage this utility. That's something we didn't really see Yippe force them to do quite a lot. But when they were forced to do it, it got really awkward. In that last round as well, in round number 3, they were forced to try and, manage their time well, get through some Shimikas, and they didn't really deal with that well there either. And now, those Shimikas are going to start to come into play, and Zackilla has been taken out of play. As with a minute to go, a 4-on-5, Cuzzzzz are not looking to be in the best position.
Now, I thought Zackilla downstairs with that Deimos was going to be a significantly bigger problem for Bino playing the bandit. He was right below, looking up through the floor, trying to find that opportunity to take the vertical shot, and just missed. Unfortunately, loses his life, and as Boots goes down in a 5v3 scenario with 35 seconds left, Cuzzzzz is going to have to hit some miracle shots here to get anything done.
Nade around the corner is going to force that swing.
Okay.
How did he land that? You said miracle shots. It seems they've got a few in their back pocket, but Eddie around the corner is going to shut down Reese. Letters has ran away, and Jay Guns is gone. Letters is soon too. And that almost got really crazy.
Damn, if Zackilla had on the Deimos had got Bino from down below and taking out the bandit, those final 2 kills there, it would have completely opened up the whole operational side, given them the opportunity to push in, redirected that offense completely. That was a huge unfortunate loss, and great play by Nadeshot to win that individual battle. Man, miracle shot showed up just as we called for it, but it was not enough to carry Cuzzzzz into a round win, so they're going to stick with 1 on attack so far. Nadeshot putting in the work. They've already got 3 on the defensive side. Basement was the only place that Cuzzzzz was able to crack the armor on the Nadeshot side, so they're going to try it one more time. This is it. Best opportunity. Who's going to adapt the best here?
think he only shot one bullet and ended up getting the headshot. That was insane.
It's wild. I love a good shot like that.
You said. Oh, absolutely. You have to. But even still, I think it just goes to show that Nadeshot really controlling the pace of this game right now, where a massive play like that, the individual play, that was what was needed to just get 2 kills. And then they still didn't even get close to winning it. So it's very clear that Nadeshot is controlling the pace of this game. They are very confident in how they're going about these defenses, and I think they're forcing Cuzzz to play a very structured style that I don't know if Cuzzz has in them. We saw last round they got some pretty early preliminary control, just like they were doing on Bank. Then they just kind of like looked confused. They were met by some bandit wires and didn't really know what to do. They tried to send Zach underneath. He died, and he only really got rid of 1 or 2 electro wires, so they never even got the external wall open. They all kind of just tried to lurk, but it's not really the kind of site where you can get away with that, thanks to all the hallways and how little map control there really is that Nadeshot and LFO were even trying to contest. I do think they'll have opportunities here on the basement, though, to make some lurk plays happen. It is a very spread out defense from Nadeshot and LFO, so I'd imagine we'll see Cuzzz have a pretty good round here, or at least they've got the potential to have a good round here, a better round than they've had in the past few.
It just feels like they're getting started a little bit too slow is really the only thing that feels like the issue here, right? We're a minute into this round. Okay, finally, just as we're talking about it, Boots finds one. It's epic to go down again, but Eddie answers back in a big way, and they lose the Dokkaebi. All that extra intel, then roam clear. So they got 1 kill off the back of that Dokkaebi intel, but that is all they're going to get. And yeah, it just feels like we need to start moving a little bit quicker. And what was that ram drone? What was he trying to accomplish? Just cause chaos and noise downstairs to deflect Nino?
Oof. Fens is trying to get a headshot. He'll get exactly what he wanted. It was 2 kills in a row for Fens. And it's Reese in a 1 versus 4. They had info on his position as well, so they'll know now. Try and come back to the site. Long angle, almost finds one inside of lockers. He'll get his second 2. He's got the case in his pocket. This could be possible. It's not likely. But never say die. Reese isn't really one to do that. And he walks deep through. He could have found one from the side. There was a timing player on his left that he just couldn't quite get to. And I think maybe if he had found the prone guy first, he could have made it work. But instead, they sync up the swing, and everything's under control. It's a 4-1 lead for Nadeshot.
That's one of those things that shows the composure and the quality of play that comes out from a T1 team, right? Typically we see sometimes the T3, T4 teams individually swinging that and gives Reese the ability to try and take one out. And honestly, it was some siege timing so close. He had the shot on the door. Valkyrie moved, and then he looked to the other guy just from a little bit of motion over there, and just well timed on the Nadeshot side. Punished Cuzzz for it. Finds a win. And yeah, in the chat coming out, damn, you getting sold. That's not a great way to raise the mental of your team, agreeing with your opponents that they're not doing a great job. That's not the strategy here. So, Cuzzz, it's time to lock in.
Lair, poor attacks on Lair. It's not the end of the world. I will also say as well, like, before we even got into this game, the expectation that I had set was that this would probably be the map I expect them to succeed on the least. Right? It's the least open.
100%.
Or at the very least, though, yeah, Lair Labs, I think, which is our map 3, that's pretty open. It's very big. A lot of opportunities for lurks. I can easily see Cuzzz finding a lot of success there. And Clubhouse is a map that we get to know these guys a lot. Whether or not it's open, it's a very structured map, so it doesn't seem like a map they would in theory be good at, but in practice they've been excellent at it, and it seems like it's so played out that Nadeshot can't really take advantage of any like gaps in strategy, because even though Cuzzz themselves may not, at least not here, be looking up to par strategically, on the Clubhouse, everybody kind of knows what's going on. Everybody's seen the map a million times, so you know more of what to expect. Here, though, you know, a lot of hallways, not a lot of lurk opportunities despite how big the map is. But Nadeshot, to their credit, have been doing a good job shutting down those lurks since the first couple of rounds when they didn't find so much success. In these last 3, it's not just looked like Nadeshot are good on Lair, but it looks like they're just the better team so far today. And with this lurk up the staircase from Boots, they're going to do just that again, shutting down yet another lurk opportunity. Tried and failed for Cuzzz.
Yeah, good thing for them that this is a best of 3, because if the mental starts to go here on this first map, I know you said it over and over that this looked like the one that was not going to be the map they did so well on, and nice wall bang there through the main wall, just taken out center. He goes down early. That answers back, but with Letters and Boots gone, with just Reese, J Guns and Zach Hilla so far struggling to really have that same impact that they did on the previous game, so they're gonna have to get a little bit more active here. One final round to do it here on their attack, and yeah, working the vertical side, needing to get set up to be able to get a plant down. They have the diffuser in hand still, but they need to win a few of these battles upstairs before they're gonna get the opportunity. And how about no?
It feels like we've been seeing a lot of that this game. A lot of choke points being held by shotguns or by SMGs or whatever gun it is. A lot of Nadeshot finding success off of Cuzzz walking right into their line of sight, giving them 0 opportunities for those lurk plays and then shutting down the ones that they even gave up opportunities to make. It's a dominant defensive performance from Nadeshot LFO. And it's just J Guns to try and salvage this 6th round, but something tells me it's not going to work as he rounds the corner. The player from display could have been able to finish him, but instead it's Fens from right in front of him inside his server. Shut it down and make it 5 to 1/2 for Nadeshot LFO.
Yeah, this is on. It's a map that they're very good at getting the start on defense, and you said it's even though Nadeshot picked it, they wanted to start on Cuzzz wanted to start on attack. It gave sort of a gift there to start off on defense, and sometimes Lair can certainly feel like it's an attacker-sided map, but at least for Cuzzz, they struggled a little bit. They got one good win on basement. Other than that, that was all a Nadeshot. So certainly time to turn this thing around. It is a best of 3, so they've got plenty of opportunity. If you're just joining us, welcome in. We're in a best of 3 here to decide who is qualifying to the last chance qualifier closed in January. 2 teams are going to make it today, one from this game, one from the other game taking place on WBZ Cards and Jazzman stream. Good to see which is it going to be. Karn & Co. moving on that one. And you know what? I wish all of the teams could make it. Heartbreaking that only one is going to make it through from this best of 3.
Cuzzz getting on the defensive side. Opportunities to try and bring this game back. They'll need to start capitalizing on some of them
Attackers
soon.
need to locate and defuse
I don't want to understate that. Lair in this best of 3 seems like Cuzz's worst map. At least, based on my guess in theory, it seems like the map that they were the least prepared for today. Maybe the players themselves would think otherwise if we got to talk to them about it. But so far, it looks like Nadeshot were much more prepared for this map coming into it. Still, though, Lair defenses can be very, very tough to crack, especially without those shields. You've taken away both the Blackbeard and the Blitz. There is still the Montaigne up if Sensor wants to play on those shields that he's so well known for. But it seems like instead they're going to try and go the cheese angle as they bring Glaz and Deimos, as well as Raura, into round number 7. Not so much cheese, but definitely the kind of operator you have something very specific planned for if you're bringing it.
We saw them play the same sort of strategy yesterday, where they're using the Railroad to block off the site door into the to prevent the Azami playing behind the desk, to sort of make a big impact as they push the operational side of the map. So use the ace to open up the wall, use the Railroad to block off Azami or whoever's playing behind the desk, block that angle off completely, and then sort of take a more 1v1 kind of fight, pushing from the operational side. It was very successful versus the pack runners. So we'll see whether or not Cards reads into that a little bit. J Guns holding rather than playing the Azami behind the desk, holding a very aggressive defensive angle, expecting that's the style that Nadeshot wants to bring.
And he's not going to get spotted. He'll be able to get the first
No
one.
way.
He can fade away. That's the Glaz already gone. And that's the Azami still standing. They're going to try and cut him off from the window by breaking that Kiba, but he's starting to recognize he's under heavy pressure here. Now the Deimos even targeting him from below. He could easily get tracked down in this position, so he'll have to start to move, but the Deimos has bigger problems on his hands. He's got boots in his lobby, and he's just died to him. So now that means Jay can start to play a little more aggressive, but Luke has lost his life. So Jay, it may be wise for you to play this a little more carefully. Keeping it off for a little bit, might be able to get out, and I think he barely has made it back to this site. So even though there was heavy pressure on his position, he wastes exactly as much time as he possibly could have and gets back to site without giving up his life.
What a great play. There's no way I thought Jay was going to be able to win that battle. I thought he was taking maybe a little bit over-aggressive spot, a little risky spot considering you're up against Nadeshot, but man, the glass just absolutely missed that, and then he played that thing out perfectly using his utility, and Nadeshot might still have a good chance to win this round, but it's not because of lack of effort on Cuzzzzz and Jay Gunn's side. That was well played.
And with 40 seconds, Cuzzzzz in a very good spot in this round. They've got 3 gas cans still on Zach, as well as 2 C4s. Those belonging to Letters and Reese. Reese is even going to drop downstairs as the hatch gets broken, but they've heard this. This could be a costly play to give up a man advantage, and now we're back into a 3-on-3. Nadeshot LFO have been given a lifeline by the Mira. But with those gas cans still in the picture, 2 of them left with only 15 seconds to go, and a C4 now left. This could still get sketchy. Letters has burned his C4, and Devin's getting the plant down elsewhere. The gas cans aren't on point. Nothing's on point, but through this smoke, it's a big play for Letters to get something back. But the plant is down, and these last 2 attackers are back to the mezzanine, with Jay Guns has got Epic, and Devin's caught in the thick of it.
Oh, he hits it!
He's got Letters, but he won't be able to get anything more than that. Zach takes him down, and Cuzzzzz are back on the board for the first time in quite some time.
Wow, off the back of some great play there from Jay Guns. I don't know exactly what happened, but the man got activated as soon as they went on to defense. Maybe carrying a little bit of confidence in after winning that initial battle. That certainly could have gone the other way if he had lost it. But you know what? Take those when you can get them. And Nightshot played that exactly the way we expected, right? Pushing hard on the operational side, used the rower to block off the site door, open up the wall with the ace, but ultimately Cuzzzzz was able to work around that, find a couple big kills, even though Reese throws his life away doing the drop downstairs. It was a flank that could have worked and maybe just distracted Nadeshot long enough to slow them down and put them in more of a panicky type situation. Great play by Cuzzzzz. They show up big on their first defensive round.
They're going to go to the basement now on Cuzzzzz. Very close, much like the first round of the nap that we saw overall. Defense needing to rely on that retake, though this one even closer to being a win for Nadeshot, as they stood at a pretty solid spot with that plant just about to go down. Big plays though from Cuzzzzz to get back into it. And now that they're on the defensive side, you can see that they're not so dependent on the way Nadeshot is playing the game. They can kind of take fights at their own pace, and it's really playing to their benefit. On the attacks, they were looking for opportunities to take ones, but Nadeshot were so disciplined and so able to just play behind their setups that they never had to give Cuzzzzz any opportunities to take fights without having teammates nearby, because they knew that's what Cuzzzzz wanted. They just wanted to take some isolated ones, because that's how they're getting into these series. But now that Cuzzzzz are the ones on defense, they can force the issue by taking some early aggressive fights like the one that Jay Guns is looking for towards security. He's the only one who's really looking for anything too aggressive at the start of this round, though, as the rest of his team is inside the basement. But whether or not he finds too much success, Jay Guns at least trying to get aggressive and trying to take some early picks. That's the Cuzzzzz we know.
That's the style of gameplay that is fun to watch when it works. It can be frustrating when you're just seeing your team run at the opposition and lose their life immediately. But if they're trying some of these strategies and it's working, it can be very fun to watch here. And right now, yeah, Cuzzzzz at least doing a good job of slowing Nadeshot down. We're already a minute into this. All 10 left alive in the lobby. No real like big interactions, big matchups have happened at this point. It's still Nadeshot working the vertical at this point, and man, Eddie, he tosses the ram out, gives away his position, and then Jay Guns punishes him for it. Man, what a turnaround he has had in just 2 rounds.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen some good individual plays from him. Just understanding these little situations incredibly well, but Devin's able to take down Reese as he tries to sneak into the site. Things could start to get sketchy from this point on. It looks like Jay Guns' rotate back to site is pretty good to go, as the rest of the attacking side isn't really near him. They're not cut him off from that rotate. They're all coming at it from the warehouse side of things in through lockers. And with only a minute to go and those Goyo cans starting to get popped, but there could still be 1 or 2 left, as well as another C4. And also the Shamikas on the Tachanka that haven't been burned at all yet. Those are not in a bad spot at all. Nadeshot are going to need to find someone to take down relatively soon, or they can really convincingly get a push into sight here.
Yeah, that area denial from Tachanka feels like that could be the difference maker if he's going to stay alive long enough to block some of this space off. But this vertical battle that's been happening between Epic and Zach has just, lasted nearly the entire round. And with 30 seconds left there, the fires are starting to burn. A couple long shots being taken. And 25, here's the 20-second meta upcoming.
Zach still hasn't left his post either, so they're going to know where he is, and eventually Epic's going to take him down. Bending gets another one as well. The Shamikas are finally going to make themselves known, so the pushing from lockers is going to be tough, but it's going to get a lot easier if you die to Bino. Plant still hasn't gone down, though, so if Fenz decides to plant in a spot where he can be seen from the vert, then Jay could still have a chance, but I just don't think they can see him. He just doesn't have the opportunity, and he can't break open a hole in the roof. Looks like he's just given up on the round, trying to tear through the floor, and he will at least take the kill on the center. But that win condition is not something that exists to the extent he thought it did. It is not going to be an easy retake either, as into the Nomad air jabs that may exist within the site. That's only going to make it harder to stay gun up through the rest of this round. There's a player in lab exit to his left. If this angle doesn't get checked, then it could be the end of his round, but he actually just sprints right by it. Doesn't really matter, though. Eventually, that lab exit player of Epic will make his way out of the exit, and we will make our way to round number 9 with match point for Nadeshot help.
Match point scenario, and it is a best of 3, so this is just the first match, and we expected, I know you said it several times, this is the map we expected Nadeshot to do the best, and this being Cuzzzz's worst map. The thing that I didn't expect was Reese calling out where his teammate was in a 3v1 scenario post plant. That one was not on my bingo card. I did have, a little bit of a mental chalking happening, but like fully giving away your teammate's position in a post plant, yeah, that one wasn't there. So would really love to see this team lock in because they've got a ton of fans out there. They've put in all of the work to make it this far. You're fighting a T1 team. Like, put the best foot forward, lock in right now, my friends, and to show them why you belong to be here, right? Hold the team together at least for a best of 3.
You'd hate to see what in theory might be their worst map be the one that chalks the team beyond recovery. They could make that comeback, though. Like I was talking about, I think this team, you're hoping for Clubhouse. You can't wait for Clubhouse. That is a map that Nadeshot LFO are good at, too. They actually, in their last split of Pro League, beat Dark Zero on it, which was the one game that they won. Actually, no, they won 2. They beat them there, and then they beat Cruelty on Lair. So a couple of good maps for Nadeshot early in the map. Bino, it looks like I think he fell off the staircase.
Yes. Wow, what a great catch there by the observer, and Bino. I mean, he survives at least to be able to keep those Twitch drones in play to be able to clear out this defensive utility. So thank God they didn't lose that part of it. But man, that's an unfortunate way to start off this round.
Yeah, nothing for the Flores drone, so Epic's just gonna Hail Mary and send it. But what that does get is good information that there's literally nothing in stock preventing you from just walking through. There are a lot of players nearby stock, including Reese sitting in stock itself, and there isn't much of a roam game. It's really just Jay once again. This time he's on the Legion. I'd imagine partly playing. Actually, no, he doesn't have the Super Shorty anymore. I was gonna say he could play to maybe open up some holes in the roof like he couldn't do last time, because Fender doesn't have the bailiff anymore, but I also forgot that Legion lost the shorty. So
Yeah, they're
he's
struggling to make all those rotates.
issue once again. Yeah.
This one, at least when you have the Legion to be able to give away some of that information about where this team is pushing in. The basement's got so many of the small rooms, so many opportunities, places for the attackers to try and catch you off guard just a little bit. So I think the Legion's not a bad choice there. Plus, can maybe prevent you from getting the plant down for at least a few seconds. But you know what? It's not going to matter at all as he finally goes down. And now in a 5v3 with a low health Reese, this is a tough situation. Come on, hold it together. This is match point scenario, guys.
And they're kind of just falling over. Zach is at least able to do something in his rat spot, but he gets held on his way back in his sight by Eddie. And that low health Reese is the only hope for Cuzzzzz on Lair. Still a best of 3, so we've got plenty more coming up. But as for our time on Lair, it would seem that it's soon to be over. Devin will get a flash off before he goes down. Reese is at least able to take him eventually, but that's all that he'll be able to take with him as Epic shuts him down and Cuzzzzz have no life left on Lair. It's Nadeshot, Help, who are able to take game number 1, map number 1 of our series, and start things off just as strong as we knew the Pro League team could.
Yeah, big GGs there to Nadeshot and Epic having a fantastic game, 10-4. But honestly, it was pretty balanced overall. These guys all contributing, everybody being an important part of that win. And Cuzzzzz, we knew this was going to be a tough map for them. I'm fully expecting them to come back significantly stronger on their map of Clubhouse. So it's a best of 3, 1 done. Hopefully, if you're a Cuzzzzz fan, you want to see these console guys last one more map and send it to map 3. We're looking forward to it ourselves. Welcome back, everyone. It is time for map 2, my friends. It was a 7-2 victory there for the Nadeshot Help team over top of Cuzzzzz. And honestly, they put up a decent fight. There was a couple good rounds, but that game was all Nadeshot.
Absolutely, entirely Nadeshot Help, and we can hop in ready to go on Nighthaven Labs. We're already into or it's not Nighthaven Labs, excuse me. I got mixed up with we were watching Card stream on Labs. I thought we were going to Labs. It's not Labs. Labs is up later should we get to map 3 though, but for now we've got Clubhouse. It's Cuzzzzz on the map that when they were known as Yer, they really made a name for themselves on, and it is very exciting to see them get it into this map pool. Not just because it's a map that they're so good at, but because it's a map that Nadeshot LFO, Nadeshot Help, whatever you want to call them, they're also quite good at themselves as well, as they beat Dark Zero on it in one of their last Pro League matches of this season. So they're able to beat some good teams on a map like this. It's going to be very exciting to see how it ends up going, and already we got the Clash taken off of the board by Cuzzzzz.
Yeah, I think that may be in direct response to center. Devin is so good on the shields, known to be very good on the Clash specifically, and it's a couple of places on this map where she is very good at trying to hold on to areas on that upper floor and just not wanting to have to deal with it. Just get her out of the way. And this is one that it feels like you mentioned during the previous map is Clubhouse is very default, very fundamental, very structured, and so everyone sort of plays the same way. So I think that's something that Cuzzzzz can work around. They can find gaps in that. They can, have played against teams that have played very default before. So certainly I feel like this is a much better map for them to try and find a win on. I think Nadeshot is unlikely to try anything crazy on defense. It means that Cuzzzzz knows exactly what they're expecting, knows exactly what they're up against coming into a basement defense. Okay, Azami, Smoke, Mira, these are classic ops to hold on to this space. So I think this is something, all right, Cuzzzzz knows what they're bringing. How are they going to work around it is the big question. And the bigger question might be, can they keep their mental together for map 2?
10 seconds left before insertion.
Yeah, that's the biggest question, right? Because it felt like they might have been giving up on each other based on the little signs that we could see. And we've definitely seen, from when we've gotten chances to look behind the curtain, like on Skype streams with Yer through Element 6, we've definitely seen that this is a team that is prone to maybe losing track of the mental sometimes. They can play some blame game. They can lose confidence in each other. They can maybe go silent and just try and make plays themselves rather than trying to make plays off of each other. So we have to hope that the mental is back together and that they are trusting in each other as much as they have other times, because when they play on this map and they're playing off each other very well, it's like nothing else you've ever seen on Clubhouse. They make Clubhouse fun to watch. And as someone who's watched it probably at least 100 times in my lifetime, that is not easy to do at this point, because you feel like you've seen everything. But a Cuzzz Clubhouse or a Yippe Clubhouse, or just generally this stack on this map, when they are firing on all cylinders, is truly one of the most exciting Clubhouse you can watch.
Yeah, 100% agree. This can be a very fun team. You said. Now, you take a look at where Nadeshot's at. They have locked themselves all downstairs into the basement early on. 1 minute is gone, and so they're giving all of this top floor all of the opportunity to Cuzzz. They'd be baiting them in a little bit at this point, and they brought along 3 C4s to cause some chaos upstairs. So they're going to work on opening up these hatches. We're going to have to be careful about exactly where they're standing as the rest of this round starts to tick down. And the big one here, Eddie, look at this. Waiting in dirt, unreinforced, again, just baiting in Cuzzz to maybe enter quickly rather than using some of that hard breach utility to open up that space and just punish them for it. And look at that. They fall right into the trap.
Right there, they get the buck.
Oh, but he wins that!
Still has the shotgun out, and so he wins the close range fight. And Boots is going to run straight through immediately. That's a very nice play and very over-aggressive from Eddie. He knew they had the hard breaching there. He might have been able to tell that they had the buck on board already, but Fenz is going to die trying to peek out the hatch. Letters will get knocked down in return, but Cuzzz are already right up against this site, threatening the bounds of this defense of the objective. And Nadeshot help really starting to feel like they're on the back foot, only a little bit of utility away from Cuzzz starting to break into that site. Dino towards AK is the only one inside of Arsenal. He'll have to worry about the hatch drop. He'll have to worry about the main stairs position. Also
oh, no way.
Tunnel as well, but he's already eliminated one of them. So as the hatch drop comes through, he should have a good angle for this. They've also got gas cans for it. So the loss of that dirt tunnel position has severely ruined this attack, and they're going to finish off Letters as well. With 15 to go, that wasn't the play he needed to make out of center. He's going to give himself up and also make it very easy to end up inside of Church. As the cross tries to go through into Arsenal, though, they're going to die for it. Case is abandoned. They've got to pick it back up, but Jay's been knocked down. Zach's still alive, and he doesn't have enough time to get the plant. So Nadeshot help won't even need to kill everybody over the course of winning round 1.
That is crazy. Oh, what a... I don't want to... It's certainly not a throw, but they win a dramatic battle in the tunnel. I thought for sure that he was going to lose that fight. That was exactly what Mute was waiting for, waiting in the tunnel. Loses the fight to the shotgun to the face, but then Bino just playing, holding that angle in Arsenal, was like winning that dirt tunnel battle back and forth there was what threw the round. That they absolutely had that thing on lockdown. And then took some individual fights, and Nadeshot punished him for it. Honestly, that was so close. I can't believe Cuzzz lost that one. Nadeshot hitting their shots and showing why they belong as one of those T1 teams.
Just the ability to recognize where the biggest threat was in that moment. Once you get rid of that dirt tunnel player, you know where the rest of the push is going to come from. And even though center tries to go sprinting through the hallway, assuming that it's going to be a play into Arsenal when it wasn't, they still had such a good handle on the situation, and that AK's position was just so tough to get rid of. So Bino basically single-handedly winning Nadeshot help that round. And that's one of those positions where if you have good util management, it's definitely possible to deal with them. You know, if you play your nades well, if you're able to, you know, bring some kind of util that can deal with those Kiva barricades, or maybe a Capital Firebolt if you can angle it to get behind the AKs. But that's one thing that Cuzzz have struggled with. As good as they are in individual fights, and as good as they are at playing incredibly fast and catching the defense off guard, they can struggle to bring the right util or manage it well, and I think that's why a power position like that one is what did them in that last round. We saw a lot of those on Letter. And although they're better about it on a Clubhouse because they've played this map a lot, still it's something that's coming back to bite them already. As we go to the second floor defensive gym and bedroom, and already the cash and CC side has been completely abandoned by Nadeshot help. Very early on to give up on that roam extension.
Yeah, it's typically something that feels like they hold on to it a lot longer, wouldn't waste a lot of time. It feels like they feel more comfortable maybe just bunkering back down here because just baiting this Cuzzzzz team into taking some of those individual fights. Don't fight the 1v1s roaming off-site. Force them into more coordinated plays. Again, fundamental siege, which maybe they're going to be a little bit better at. But, all right, they're going to continue to win some of the opening picks, though, as Boots takes down Epic. And, man, you said it. They in that previous round, they tossed a lot of nades in at the end of the flashes. They were trying to get rid of the Azami, but leave your elbow exposed just enough. They didn't use the frag grenades to try and push her out of that position, rather just blind her. And they need to start trying to do some of that now. They're up in the man count. Yeah. They're up 5-4. They've got a minute 17 left. This is plenty of time to work this.
Exactly. Try and whittle away at those power positions the Nadeshot help are trying to hold, but it doesn't seem like Cuzzzzz really wants to do that. When they see the opportunity, they're just going to start walking at it, even though there are good crossfire set up in these positions, and Nadeshot help doing a really good job here. Notice how far back they are. They're not really playing to try and shut down a plant. They're playing to anticipate how far up Cuzzzzz are going to walk, because they know Cuzzzzz are the kind of team where it's flood or nothing. But even still, you can expect it, but it's just that hard to win fights against Boots. Eddie's going to get knocked and finished off, and although Fenz is into the round, he'll need help from Devin. He'll get a little bit, but it's still a man advantage out of Cuzzzzz. Devin, how about some more? He's low on HP, but he hasn't been able to.
You gotta be kidding me!
Somehow, they let him get away with highway robbery out of the 2-on-5.
No way!
Another member of Nadeshot help dies. They don't need Nadeshot's help. They just need Fenz in center.
Man, absolutely locked in that round. It just came out of nowhere with that sniper shotty and completely decimated at the top of the main stair. That was wild. There's no way that I thought Nadeshot was winning that round after we saw a couple of that team fall, and Cuzzzzz looked like they were in the power positions. And from a health perspective, the Nadeshot guys had like almost no health. They're sitting at like 10 and 20 HP tops. How does
Attackers need to locate
lose
and
that
defuse
battle?
as many bombs as they
That's a
can.
tragic scenario. 2 rounds in a row now. They have been so close and just let it slip through their fingers. Please do not let this affect your mental, guys, because you are that good to be able to hold your own and come close, but you need to convert that closeness into round wins here. Clubhouse defensive sided for sure, so we're expecting this Nadeshot team to pick up maybe 4 if you call the standard split, but man, heartbreaking rounds to start this map off.
Point there with just don't let this affect you. You're playing really close against a pro league team. You have every opportunity to continue to turn this around, even though those first couple rounds got close, but you just couldn't quite get away with them. And Nadeshot helped. They had a whole first map to know what to expect, and still coming into this one, they're off to a little bit of a slow start. So I think this is a sign that, Cuzzzzz really are starting to affect Nadeshot help. They've been chipping away all map 1 long. They're continuing to chip away, but I feel like it's just a matter of time until eventually Cuzzzzz get a couple of rounds on the board in a row. And now they're going to try to get into this Cash and CC site. Definitely, I would say, the least defender-sided site that is played actively on this map. So a great opportunity for Cuzzzzz to really start to get on the board if they can just get this main wall open with the Maverick. Not quite there yet, but give it some time. Oh.
This is the new Mav tricking going on as the change in the wall, the way that wall interacts directly with Mav makes it a little bit more difficult, and Reese really taking some time to get that thing open. No C4s though. I was wondering whether or not Nadeshot was going to risk going for a C4 on that wall because I had so much time available. But look at this again. You called it out. They're leaving most of the site completely open again, feeling like they're just baiting Cuzzzzz in, just taking some of that space, and man, Fenz makes him pays for it to start off.
Bino's gonna get another one on a race. It's just Jay. He's outside the building, and he's only got about 40% of his health, so it is not looking good. I think you made a great point to say they're kind of baiting them in. This site is very tough to defend if you take the right control around it, but that's not something Cuzzzzz really did. They just tried to run straight in immediately, and they got instantly overwhelmed for it themselves. Not really taking deep control into the site, not really enough to plant with. just kind of thought they spotted a gap, but it was a gap Nadeshot left deliberately. That was an outstanding defensive setup from Nadeshot Help. It's not the kind of one that's going to work in Pro League realistically, but here against Cuzzz, that's exactly what you need to do against them. Create such a big gap in such a vital spot that you know they can't help themselves but take it, and then take the round from there because you were ready for exactly what just happened.
So that first quarter is over, and we see the next set of bans come in. This time, Nadeshot bans out the ace, which I'm not surprised about because of how good Reese had been using that op across both of the previous two maps, and certainly he's got a lot of utility here on a clubhouse as well, with being able to deal with the Mira, which is now banned as well. So they're gonna at least not have to worry about
Defenders,
playing from
protect your
behind the
bombs
Mira
from
and give them a
being defused by
little bit more
attackers.
opportunity. But yeah, it doesn't feel like they're making serious fundamental mistakes. Like you said, a little bit over eager maybe, and playing into some of these nade shot tricks. And like you said, wouldn't work in Pro League, and that feels like that is true. So Cuzzz has got opportunities here. They know these setups. They can play around it. We just got to stay locked in. And I know the chat is all about the fact that they're completely chalked right now, and there's no hope of them coming back. I've got a little bit of faith, though. I'm hoping they can hold it together.
Yeah, I've got faith too. I think these first two attacks were really good. I think in that last round, hopefully, you'll learn your lesson that sometimes the gap is there because the defense wanted it to be there. That was the idea. Also, you got J Guns moving on to bullets in round 4. How about this? Haven't really seen them take much advantage of the shields. I want to say this is the first shield we've seen out of Cuzzz so far through all of today. Just off the top of my head, I can't remember another time that they've used it. Their opponents have been using it quite a lot, as they banned them on Lair because Center loves his shields, but on Bank they dealt with Blackbeard and Blitz all day long, possibly part of the motivation behind running those bans into this map. But it looks like Cuzzz kind of want to go fast here, as they're already pressuring into Dirt Tunnel and starting to take some of that control upstairs. Nadeshot Help are going to let them do whatever they want, though. Contesting most of this map, only worried about the basic.
Yeah, this is very different than the way I think we saw Nadeshot Help play some of the previous maps yesterday. They certainly had a little bit heavier of a roam game.
bomb has been
They
located.
banned roam clear operators occasionally. So this doesn't feel like the same style of play that they've wanted. This feels like, a little bit more targeted. Center, obviously one of those console guys that has played with this team, played with these guys in the past. So it feels like maybe there's a little bit of knowledge coming in, right, and maybe adapting the style to it directly, feeling like, yeah, we can win with just a little bit of extra utility, hold down the site, hold the long angles, just continue to invite this team in to take those fights directly and continue to win. And right now that is absolutely working. Almost like to see maybe a Cuzzz timeout, if they were going to at least be in the same DC and talk about it. I don't know that's going to happen, though.
Another attempt at baiting Boots in, nearly gets him with the C4, but Fenn's using the environment to take him down. Now they're rushing to Dirt to try and get something back. It's going to work in the short term, but in the long term, it's left Jay abandoned in the middle of smoke. And now he's going to die for it. Reese dropped the hatch, though, so he's ready, but not ready enough for Bino at AK. Zach needs to drop to try to trade out his teammate, but he's gone thanks to Fenn's. And Letters, at such low health, couldn't help but watch. Couldn't do anything at all, because the gas can right in front of him would have been more than enough to take away all of his remaining HP. So now, he's just kind of left longing, grasping at straws, hoping for some way back into this round. I just don't know if he's got it in him. The moment he steps out, he will be shot down. Starting to look like Cuzzz may be losing it just a bit, as Nadeshot Help with that round have officially guaranteed that they will win the half with 2 more rounds to go.
I'm starting to, look at questioning the ban, right, for Mira. Was that the right call, or was the clash the right call? Azami has been just dominating them across the board. Nadeshot is using the Azami so well, holding on to those power positions, and it just not feel like
Absolutely.
Cuzzz is able to work around that. right? We'll maybe question it a little bit later on, but they for sure need to be bringing something to try to specifically deal with her, whether it's
Attackers
a
need to
Flores
locate
to
and
try and
defuse
clear
any
out some of the
bombs
Kiva
they can.
barriers, maybe the Ash, but Boots has got to stay alive long enough to be able to use those and get them into position. But we need to be adapting the strategy a little bit to work around that Azami, because she's just been a consistent, constant thorn in their side, and Nadeshot playing behind that extra utility is making this work very well.
Yeah, Center pointing out the Clash ban as well makes me remember kind of like a different element to that. Clash and Izami can be similar problems, you know, with like putting the Clash shield down to kind of create cover and make a new power position. Azami's been doing that for as long as she's been in the game, making new power positions out of spots that otherwise weren't playable. The deployable shield is going to come in with the ADS to do just that as well. Nadeshot help aren't contesting a lot of the map, because in order to do that, you have to be very far away from each other, and that's a very bad thing to do against Cuzzz. But what they are doing is they're consistently presenting power positions that Cuzzz needs to clear, because Cuzzz aren't bringing enough utility to clear all of them, and they aren't bringing enough hard breaching to afford losing the X Kairos in that way. Already down 8 X Kairos, 8 more will be used on the other side of the wall. Thankfully, these ones will not be bandit tricked, but now that leaves you with 2 X Kairos pellets worth of hard breaching for the rest of the round across your entire lineup.
Yeah, that's wild. That was a huge play there from the bandit trick coming out. And J-Gun's all right, finding a way to win this one. Taking this shot over here close to the hatch. It was a highway window shot. So Center does a good job of managing, at least to stop the initial push in. But again, playing behind the Kiva barrier, putting pressure on the highway window, finding the one-way. Never mind, Boots wins that battle.
Last two are also not even close to the site as well. So you can go into a very direct take, but instead they want the challenges. They want to win the gunfight. The confidence is coming back, but Devin is going to try and whisk it away. They almost lost that round out of that position, but still they keep it under control, and Cuzzz will not go down without a round.
About time. That was the one for them. Needed to find a way to pull it off, and they do. Love the fact that we got to see this team finally win a round. They looked significantly better, even despite the loss that they took early on with the hard breach difficulties and the bandit tricking in play. Managed to pull it off, right? Finally, we get to see this team show up in a big way, and I think that's a huge mental victory as well. Nadeshot had gone 4 unanswered in a row. This was that momentum swing
Bomb
that they
located
needed.
by attackers.
For sure. And I think the way that Cuzzz did it as well, they did it their way. They did it by walking up on people and forcing one-on-ones. Nadeshot help didn't give up on that map control. I think that's the first time all map long, and maybe not the first time all day long. I think maybe it happened once or twice on Lair, but that we've seen them overstay their welcome on a roam and get punished for it. Great angle set up by the members of Cuzzz with that cutoff angle towards construction window, and J-Guns at the hatch underneath able to get the opening kill, as well as walking up red, winning 2 fights up the red staircase. Did he just break the entire box? It looked like it just disappeared. I have never seen it.
That had to have been some sort of a visual. That's a visual glitch that had to have been.
It just disappeared like it was never there. Poof, and it's just, I don't know. I lost my train of thought after that baffling. Still, that is a big win for Cuzzz, because they do it their way. They do it by activating those individuals and who but J-Guns to try and bring them back in the game. The only one who's positive up to this point in the map.
Yeah, there was a little bit of talk about selling on that Lair map, but this time J-Guns has answered back. He's being a significant part, and as we expected on Clubhouse, one of the maps that is certainly a stronghold for the console community, and Jay and Letter specifically very good on this map, so love to see them starting to pick up a little bit of the pace here. So Reese was out on that Maverick again this time, trying to open up that main wall. No real pressure again from down below to be able to prevent that, maybe make that a little bit more difficult, but they did listen and are running the Flores this time, clearing out some of the utility, opening up those soft breach walls. I like that strategy.
You know what I like is they're bringing the Kappa Tau as well, possibly to try and flush this guy out from rafters. It would have been really cool if we saw him bring a Monty team who would happily run Monty. But the Kappa Tau is something, right? It's going to help a lot in terms of flushing this guy away from rafters, pushing him out. They're going about this step by step, they're breaking a rotate hole, or they're breaking holes underneath in the floor to try and make the rotates through sight really awkward as well. This is a very procedural Cuzzz roster that is going through and playing the util game. Fence is going to try and take a fight, and he will win it, but there's the trade.
Good trade.
That's a really good trade and a really well-played early round. Step by step, taking the initial control that they need to set themselves up well for it later. This is easily the best round strategically that I think we've seen Cuzzz play so far today, but there's still a kill back for Devin onto Boots.
Yeah, you're still up against the T1 guys, so they're going to have to be careful in this case. It's a 3v4, so this is certainly anybody's game at this point. It's going to make it a little bit more difficult. Okay, how about an near impossible as Letters is the last guy left alive. And holy cow, they collapsed on his position. Explosions, guns, just one tapping back and forth. Man, they were ready for it. Holy cow.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like Cuzzz in that round were playing very procedurally. They were playing strategically. I would have liked to see them maybe try and, burn some util, take a little more time, and then try and get the plant down. But, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. You live by the lurk, you die by the lurk as well. J-Guns is a completely different map. I believe Boots was just on the main breach, and he died from there. I'm not 100% on that. But what I am pretty confident on is just this idea that, Cuzzz feel like it's the individual spark. It's the urge to make those solo plays that kind of takes over. And, maybe you would have liked to see Jay make a play closer to some of his teammates instead of, going to the opposite side of the map, even just playing his life to try and keep the push alive for later on. But they burned through so much of their util early in that round that they didn't really have a lot to work with later on. And I believe the first one they lost, the first death in that last round was the Capitao as well. So not having those smokes for the execute ended up coming to bite them in the butt as well. But I think generally it looked like early on Cuzzz had a good plan as a team, but when it came time for the execute, I feel like they just got caught very far away from each other,
Defenders,
somewhat
protect your
thinking
bombs
different
from being
ideas, trying to
defused by
make plays for
attackers.
themselves. When it worked really well in the early round, when everybody on the team, at least most of the team, was like, all right, guys, we're going to work together to flush this one guy out of a power position, take him down, and take that map control. That was a really good step that we saw them take, but they didn't really commit to the full team play all the way through that round, and I think it eventually, Nadeshot helped, found those opportunities to take ones, and they did not look back.
I think one of the things that the rival roller BOGO tourneys help with is that the guys are constantly rotating who they're playing with, so that overall Cuzzz and Urine and the iterations of those teams that sort of change up rosters constantly. I think they're a little bit better equipped for that than some of like the T4, T3 PC teams that we get to see so often. But when you compare that to Nadeshot and the T1 team that has basically 3/5 of their Pro League roster, small changes there, they're more consistent, played together a lot longer. So even though Cuzzz might be better prepared for changing up some of the rosters, they're still facing a formidable opponent here in Nadeshot, and it's going to be Eddie as the guy to open this thing up and take down Boots, which is unfortunate. They're going to lose the Warden, so I don't... that this lineup is only brought along a couple of the flashes. They don't have the Ying in play, so it's not terrible, and it is a big loss to lose a guy that had been hitting a lot of his shots.
Hey, you know who's going to keep hitting shots, though, is J-Guns. If anybody's been doing it so far this map, it's been him. Such a big threat, they need to start tracking him down with the Deimos track, and he is on a staircase, so he can just start to fade away. Track is eventually just going to be abandoned nice and early because they recognize he is in a very easy spot to fall away, and he does just that. At least he feigns it. It makes them think that he's fallen away, but he's actually running all the way up to the top floor, and he's going to catch a Thatcher with his pants down. It's a second kill for J-Guns.
Great play.
And they cannot keep track of where this guy is. They've got an operator whose whole job is to do just that, and they still can't pin him down.
Yeah, that's a huge miss there, not being able to take down the Azami. And look at this, hits the trip connector, gets slowed a little bit, the nade comes in, but holy cow, a little bit of back and forth as Letters hits that C4 finally, and now into a 2v3 scenario. Bino and Eddie don't feel like they're in a great position right now. Still have a lot of defensive utility in place downstairs. Some of the fundamental pieces still missing. We got Kiba barriers up, hatches still closed, default still up. It's a minute of gameplay left, so they have time. But not a lot of resources to try and pull this off. And with Deimos only having two of the trackers left, and he's going to be more vulnerable if he's trying to use them upstairs to some of the vertical attacks, specifically Reese that has the C4 still in pocket. He's not going to be nearly as valuable late round.
You talk about Reese having a C4 in pocket. You know what else he still has? Maybe not in pocket, but across the map is the Electro Claws. This Moto hatch will not be opened this round. So with 30 seconds to go, they've got to try and find the frags a different way. They're in very different spots than each other, trying to walk down this defense together. They've got good info on where these last two attackers are, though, and so the defense is going to be confident going into these last couple of fights. And even though you can see exactly where Jay is, he's just too good. Jay guns everybody down, and it's only a 5-2 lead now for Nadeshot Help.
Again, huge mental victory, right? They managed to shut down the 4 in a row from Nadeshot back on round 5. They answer back, though, and end with a 5-1 half, putting them in a pretty tough position. But there we go. A big defensive win on the opener. I think they hit a bunch of good shots, good use of utility across the board. Yeah, I mean, for sure, some individual heroics from J Guns helped carry them over the finish line to close out that round. But
Defenders, protect
mental
your bombs
victory
from
important
defused by
with this
attackers.
team, and you know what? They did it off the back of good util as well. So it's not just him as a solo player winning that round. Certainly important, but I think that they've got, feels like they're at least getting a little bit of their momentum, their mojo back right now.
Back, getting back into the game one step at a time. That was on your very best objective. It was kind of in a round where, admittedly, Nadeshot Help did not go about it the way they could have with that full roam clear. J Guns benefiting a lot from the fact that Nadeshot Help never really committed all of their attention to clearing that roam. You got to commit yourself to fully clearing out Cuzzzzz when any of these five players are on the roam, because when they just are let off the leash and told to go get frags, they will absolutely, happily get that very thing done. So a little bit less room to roam coming into round number 8 as they go up to gym and bedroom. Not really going to send too many people down to the first floor, at least not typically, but they will. They've got Boots, who was on the first floor for a bit. He seems to be making his way up the staircase now. But J Guns is roaming all the way across that first floor, just being relied upon to make a play. And who makes the first pick happen but J Guns? Fenz is gone thanks to the run out, and a really good opening pick as he has hit 10 kills before anybody else in the server.
That was a great play off the back of the reverse intel there, taking down the Deimos. That's going to significantly handicap Nadeshot throughout the rest of this round. They have no other roam clear. That means J Guns is be able to, spend a little bit of time wherever he wants, whether that's on site, whether that's moving around. Same for the rest of this team. So big biss there. And then Fence was at 7 and 5, so out fragging both Epic and Eddie at this point. So they're going to have to step up to try and match his level of kills at this point. But all 5 left alive on the Cuzzzzz side. More than half the round gone at this point. Still holding power positions over on the Cash CC side of the map. So they haven't given up nearly as much real estate as Nadeshot was at this point in most of their rounds. This is a good defense so far.
So far, Nadeshot Help looking to try and just hit the site directly if they can't find opportunities elsewhere. Util goes in, but Epic goes down. It's Boots, who's been allowed to play the Aruni for the first time in quite some time. Who's already going to find a pick before the execute even gets started. It's already been stopped. J Guns tracked by the bees, but look at all those Kivas he's got set up. He couldn't be happier in any position. Benner is going to walk straight in, though, and he'll find a really good pick. He'll find a second one.
No way!
Laid on a silver platter for center. Bino with more. It's a 1-on-3. Zach gets nothing. And Nadeshot Help turn the round on its head. One gap is all they need to go one round away from the closed qualifier.
There was a lot of people questioning whether or not Nadeshot should have picked up Devin on this roster. The latest addition post the Element 6 play day, but Man, it certainly shows right there one of the reasons why he deserves that spot. Yeah, small gap, opened up, picked up 3 off the back of it. You may not be able to pull it off in Pro League, but just shows what he's capable of. And man, Cuz had a great defensive round. A minute 30 in, we're saying, at least I'm
Attackers
saying in
need
my
to
head for
locate and
sure, these
defuse
guys are
bombs.
going to pick this round up. They're great opportunity, good positioning, good hold, and then shut down by individual heroics there from Devin. 11-4 now, having a fantastic game, matching J Gun's individual heroics to give them that lead. That one was not a Nadeshot win, that was a center win.
Gap spotted, taken advantage of. And just like that, a round that looked so good for Cuzzz, thanks to those individuals. They just lose track of it. They can't keep track of where everybody is. That's going to be a big regret for them moving forward into the rest of this series. However long it may be, we could still have Labs on the cards. But it certainly looks like we may not see that one today.
That's a great point. We're on match point scenario. Nadeshot here is now 1 round away, not just from this map, but from qualifying to closed qualifiers. They're going to make SI closed qualifiers in 1 round.
Still a chance for Cuzzz, though. They're living all the same, and once again, this guy might just be next up. J Guns is going to take down Fens very early on. And if anybody on his team is going to go down swinging, it's Jay every day of the week. Another opening pick. And we saw this last round. We've seen this a lot with Cuzzz. They can get some good openings. It's about whether or not they can keep track of where everybody is later on in the round. You do have the Fenrir as well as maybe the castle that could help with that to an extent. They'll have to break open those castle barricades, but the Havana pellets are going to start to do that onto all of those highway windows. Fenrirs could be helpful later on, but they had a Fen last round and still got hit in the gap. So you'll have to be very vigilant for the rest of this round. Not a single second can be spent not knowing where the rest of this lobby is.
Love that comment coming out. It's losing the Deimos
Really
one
is.
more time. Like, are you my daddy? A great question. J Guns is on the fire, right? Matching center with his 11 kills at this point. So he's got to stay alive, though. He's got to keep the rest of this team in it. This is exactly the same position they were in. Minute and a half into the round. 5v4 scenario. Looked like Cuzzz was on a roll here on their defense to be able to win it, and then it just absolutely fell apart. So we need to keep the late round in play, hold on to this as long as they can. Do not throw away bodies at this point. Man, a lot of pressure on this team right now.
Yeah. A lot of pressure. Easier said than done to not throw bodies. You don't even need to throw bodies. They didn't throw them last round. The gap just got hit. But that is a really good frag. Hooba J to get the next one, but he goes a little too far. That's throwing bodies. That's throwing these opportunities away. But a great run out for Reese is still able to keep the situation under control. Eddie and Bina were the only 2 left. They seem to have a good idea where they're at. They should know exactly where these last 2 attackers are at because they both just shot. But now Boots is in a spot where he could easily die, but that's way too tight an angle for Bino to keep track of. It's just left to Eddie, and Boots is gonna win that one.
Let's go.
Gonna make sure Clubhouse is a closer map than Lair was before it.
That's right. They eclipsed their total round count this time. They needed to be perfect for 4 in order to send this thing to overtime here on map 2. Managed to pull off 1. It is still a huge uphill battle, though. 3 more rounds in a row. The good news is they're on defense. And the good news is J Guns is absolutely on fire. Boots picks up some of that slack as well with that final kill. But you know what, man, match point scenario. Nadeshot still 1 round away from going to the SI LCQ closed qualifier here. Cuzzz is the last man standing in front of them, and they got to pull off 3 perfect rounds to do it.
Starts with 1, though. They'll have to go through every single site in their repertoire to get it done. They get to go back to the basement this time. Their basement defense was pretty solid.
Attackers
It was
need to
good. They had a
locate and
good
defuse
control of the
as many bombs
situation.
as they can.
Jay was just let off the leash, and did he ever step up? But it is not a guarantee. I think last time, Nadeshot let them get away with a lot on the roam game. This time around, if you just respect the roam, try to send a bunch of people at it from the jump, and make sure that you fully clear the map, then you could set up for the site execute later. Things could very easily be very different this time around compared to how they were last time they attacked the basement site. Because Jay, they thought they had him back on this site. They actually didn't. He ended up getting a second pick, and they really he just breached containment. They had no idea where he had gotten after. And this time around, I think because the main difference maker is going to have to be just genuinely keeping good track of who is where and making sure that all of the defenders that are alive go back to the site eventually. Great info on the player inside a garage. He might not be able to get back.
I can't believe he survived.
Barely drops back into oil pit just in time to fade away from those early threats.
I'm honestly a little surprised that Nadeshot banned the Cade rather than the Azami. I mean, Azami has been that op that J-Guns has been destroying them on, and the fact that it feels like it's a lot easier to manage yourself around the Cade when you're talking about a team that, if they're all bunkered back down into the basement, don't really have any roam presence, and the one that was doing it is Jay on the Azami. If you can force them to be a little bit, play back, it's fairly easy to deal with the Cade claws on those hatches with either the new Thatcher rework or any of the players that have impact EMPs. It felt like that was a perfect time to try and use one of those sort of target bans as the end of the quarter appeared, but I guess, you know what, feels like Nadeshot, that's the reason they're in the pros. They have got the strategy locked down to the way that they wanted to see the rounds played out, the pieces they want to deal with. But it's still just a little surprising. I thought they were going to take that asset away.
And they are already getting punished for not taking it away. It's the third round in a row. It might even be the fourth, though I don't think they found the opener in round number 7. But it's the third round in a row at least that Jay has specifically found the opening pick. And is a 5-on-4 now in favor of Cuzzz. And even in the round where he didn't find the opening pick, he found the first 2 picks that the defense found all round. I just believe that Nadeshot found a kill just before them. It's a very specific thing to remember at this point. But still, Jay is going absolutely nuke today. Epic's going to be the one to go down. That is the biggest bit of util that Nadeshot help had going into this last minute, trying to help them with an execute. And so now they're not going to have access to that anymore. The C4 might even be able to take more, and even though it doesn't,
so
it's still
close.
a great position for Cuzzz to be in.
That's one of those things on this kitchen hatch. It's such a dangerous place. I mean, you're working on getting this hatch open. If he had held onto that C4, that one, I think, would have been another pick for this Cuzzz team. But right now, I mean, you're still stacked 5v4, 30 seconds left. Nadeshot just starting. It feels like very late in this execute, but now they've got all the assets opened up. They need to make that transition down, though.
Only 20 seconds to make that transition. It's not going to be easy, but we've seen them lose these positions before, Cuzzz. Just one gap is all that Nadeshot help need to find. It's tough to find these gaps on a site like this, and as Devin walks straight into the site, Reese is unfazed. Reese couldn't be more comfortable. It's a flawless round for all of Cuzzz, and who but J-Guns to take the last kill. On top of that, they are starting to make their way back into it. Round by round, they're keeping Nadeshot help away from that close qualifier that we all thought was a formality for this team.
What a crazy round. What a crazy swing in momentum here across the board. When Cuzzz had their back against the wall, they have absolutely showed up. 3 of the last 4 rounds, 2 in a row. 6-4 is a very close lineup already at this point. If we came in and Nadeshot had picked up going from 5-4 to 6-4, right? That's a very close game. And the fact that they pulled off a flawless round, I know you said it, basement is the place that it's the best defensive hold in Clubhouse, but man, the way that they pulled that off too. Again, crazy round from J-Guns. You can't rely on the individual heroics as the way you're going to win out this entire match, but you can sure carry it all the way to the end. And if the rest of the team starts hitting as well, man, they are on fire. Nadeshot, still on match point, still 1 round away, because looking to send us to that 3rd map. Nighthaven is waiting. Cuzzz can find 2 more to get us to OT.
clear so far. What away from coming into round number 11. Cash in CCTV. The site that they have avoided up to this point, I would assume, because they don't have a ton of confidence in it. They ran back gym and bedroom after losing it once, just so they could avoid this bomb site. They ran back the basement once again, so they could avoid this site. And Boots is the one to find the opening pick. It may not be Jay Guns on that is Zombie, but it's still Cuzzz, and it's still an early man advantage for this team that's so hungry to prove everybody wrong. And at the last possible moment, seems to be putting up the fight of a lifetime to stay alive within this game. It is not going to be easy to continue to make this comeback, but as they continue to find these early advantages, they're certainly making it easier than it would have been before. Moment by moment, just working their way back in, forcing Nadeshot help to clear from the opposite side of this second floor over. Rather than maybe just opening up the wall, putting pressure on Garage, and going about this in a little bit more of a default fashion, Nadeshot helper might just go at the site from the construction side, which is a little bit less conventional than usual.
Minute 42, 5v4, and this feels like the default scenario that Nadeshot has been playing on this entire second half of the map. They've done a good job of at least getting close, picking up a round win, but Cuzzz is on fire. The fact that they got another opening pick is just absolutely wild. They've got all the fundamental things in place this time, though. Oh, wow, we were about to see an exothermic kill as he was so close to that wall. He's going to save it, though, use the can opener to open it, and maybe burn a few of these two-barrel canisters to go along with it.
Minutes ago, still no response from Nadeshot help just yet in terms of getting a pick back to try and bring this round back. Still a player in the first floor in Zach Killa. 2 players top red, though. That could start to get sketchy. Not a lot of players in the site itself. So Eddie might chuck a bunch of Candelas in and try to make this close contact, only to not really find anybody but Boots on the other end. Looks like actually that Ying is going to go somewhere else entirely. Not quite worried about that. Instead, he's going to go out to the main breach, but Epic has found one. Letters could get caught from the breach as well, but he'll have to stay worried. Letters on the other side of this Kiva barricade could easily peek out when they don't expect him. That seems to be his plan.
No
and he
way!
will catch out those bees right before the execute. An advantage is back, and it's better than ever. Race with 2, and Eddie now, who switched up to the main breach, is alone. He's got a couple Candelas to work with, and his Reed seems to be slowly dying as Jay Guns is pitching, taking his HP away. A timeout is requested by Nadeshot help. I don't even know if he was in the VC. If he could save you from the Cuzzz that we're seeing on the defensive side so far.
That is absolutely wild. What a turnaround for this team. 3 in a row, but not just 3 in a row. One of those was a flawless round. They have been having an unbelievable turnaround here. The vibes have got to be sky high, and what a change up from the start of this. You go from losing Lair, 7-2 victory, very Nadeshot-sided, to start out in Clubhouse 4 in a row. Right, we're talking about the end of this team completely. Their mental is just chalked. It's in the bin. That's the end of it. And then Cuzzz freaking turns on the switch. Jay gets activated, and they show up in a huge way. Now winning 4 of the last 5 and doing it in a dominating fashion. Right, I don't know whether or not it's the opening pick that's the key to their success at this point, but it certainly has got to be the key to keeping the vibes high right now. This is a fantastic way to end this thing. Nadeshot is still 1 round away from qualifying, but Cuzzz now 1 round away from sending this thing to overtime and giving us a chance at map 3.
Just that one chance seems to be all that they need.
Attackers need to locate and defuse bombs.
They've had one more opportunity for a few rounds in a row. And now things are starting to get sketchy. At least for Nadeshot help, they're
Attackers
starting
have
to get
discovered the
sketchy.
location of a bomb.
Tactical timeout called. I think you had said a few rounds back that you wanted Cuzzz to call theirs. Nadeshot help only a few rounds later, the ones who have to call it themselves because they feel like they're drowning trying to deal with this Cuzzz roster. And they've got every reason to feel that lack of confidence. Reese and Boots have really started to turn up these past couple rounds, but the name on everybody's lips is Jay Guns.
5
in terms
seconds
of
to
who
insertion.
has been doing the most, making the most impact. Wasting a key barricade early on in the prep phase definitely isn't ideal. But it's not those keybs that's been causing the biggest problem for Nadeshot Health. It's been the guns. It's been specifically that 919. If they can find one more opening kill, which they've done every single round except for one through this defensive side, Nadeshot Health could easily be forced into OT by the console players.
What a wild scenario that is. Certainly, I don't know whether or not we'd say on the bingo card at this point, but they were like playing in a way that we did not expect to start with. And no way, Boots does it again. They take away the Grim. They take away the attacker intel. Oh, that is wild. I don't know what is going on with the Nadeshot side. Their vibes have got to be, just down at the bottom of the floor too. All right, losing the opening pick now 5 rounds in a row. That's crazy.
Boots is damaged a little bit in return. It looks like Fens thought he had an opportunity. It's not one he's going to capitalize on. He'll fall by the wayside without Boots having fallen. They could just try and go direct here. A drone into Jim is going to spot maybe a gap. Maybe something, but Zach is quickly going to fill that gap in by taking up a spot behind the weight rack. Even trying to play a little aggressive. They've got a really good drone on his position, though. They could easily use this to find the kill back that they need. It looks like Devin is going to try and drop and maybe look for it. If he hasn't moved, he has moved. Zach has moved away, so they're going to call that off, and it's still an advantage to Cuzzz.
All right, say it one more time. Familiar situation, 5v4, half the round gone. What is Nadeshot going to do? This time, they have got an entry into sight. They find one, but Zakilla answers back. That's huge!
That's major. It was the same gap they tried to hit last time in through bathroom, but this time it won't work out as well. But Zakilla is eventually taken down. Advantage is still to Cuzzz. And they've got J-Guns down below. If anybody tries to jump in that gym window, if it's to another window, then it maybe could be someone else inside the site. Jay's actually going to move up top floor this time. Towards 90, he almost shows himself. It's Letters who's in such a good position. They're into the site. They might try and plant on the bed behind the Kiva set up by the defenders, but they're not very safe here. He's got to worry about the threat in from Jim. But because they're playing it so patiently, they're waiting until the perfect moment to strike.
They trade?
It's Boots to take down Epic, and it's everything done. J-Guns just had to be the one to send us to overtime. He did it in every round leading up, and he'll take the last kill of regulation to force the Pro League team into overtime against the team of console players who couldn't have cared less about PC comp about half a year ago.
Unbelievable. What a turn of events we've got a chance to see here. The 5-1 comeback. Are you kidding me? And in dominating fashion. All right, some of these rounds have not been close. They have been all one-sided. Cuzzz has answered back in a big way. Whatever happened in that VC at halftime was just magic, is what it feels like. J-Gun's electric, on fire, and the rest of the team backing him up too. Right now, that has not been the J-Gun's a show for the last couple of rounds. That has been this entire team answering back in a big way. We got the mental fortitude here at the end when they're winning to show up in a big way. Nadeshot 6, Cuzzz 6. We are going to overtime.
It's not for lack of decent individual performances on the Nadeshot Health side. Even Vino and Devin are both having pretty good games so far, at least Vino in center. They're both at 11 kills. That's more than most players on Cuzzz have been able to muster up to this point. Fens is even at 8 and 9, which isn't too bad. Cuzzz are just too much for Nadeshot Health to handle right now. These early picks are consistently catching them off guard in completely different spots. And Cuzzz, a team that isn't just the console players that we've been talking about, but also, at least Reese, Zach, and Boots, or maybe not Zach, but Reese and Boots have been around for a while. They've been in the T3 scene, playing whatever quals they're able to play, trying to get something significant. But for one reason or another, up until recently with Boots' success in T2, they hadn't had much success generally as a duo. Zakilla as well, a good example of that. Someone who has been in a lot of Element seasons, but has struggled to find results, even to the point where there's some discourse about whether or not he's even good enough to be on some of these teams. He's proving his worth today. He's been proving it all qualifier. And now Cuzzz, at the moment when Nadeshot Help are at their very most paranoid, are all 5 sitting in the objective. They could not care less about a roam game, and yet Nadeshot Help have taken over a minute to clear a roam that isn't there.
It's a great strategy, right? They used that roam across the board, wasted a ton of time, and now Nadeshot is being way more cautious than they need to be at this point, and it is working. Those hatches still locked up. They're just now finally opening Moto hatch. The kitchen, or blue hatch, Moto's still closed. Kitchen looks like still closed as well. They're just taking way too long to get this thing going. The best news is at least they're not 4 versus 5 at this point. They still have all 5 alive. They're more than halfway through the round, getting down to that 1 minute mark. Center switched off of playing the attacking ops that he'd normally been back on a shield this time, because it feels like they need to fall back into some of their old ways. Like, we actually have to win this. LCQ is a must-win scenario to make it to close. So this is they have to win. You can't like wait on maybe hide some strats, you know, maybe play this a little bit off, right? It is time.
Knocked out onto boots. We've talked so much about how those opening picks have meant so much to Cuzzz. They nearly suffered the opening death themselves. 30 seconds to go, though. And even if they lose someone now, it is such a slow attack from Nadeshot Help. They only just got the Arsenal hatch open. And I don't think that Moto is even a worry, but there's the play from J Guns that gets caught. They waited all around to try and make something happen on a flank, and Jay keeps himself up. It's a 4-on-5 now for Cuzzz, and at the last possible minute, they could be stumbling, but Reese and Boots are in for more. Reese gets even more than that. The hatch drop gets caught. They were never worried about it. Jay's gotten them there, but now that they're in OT, they don't need them. You can leave it at 4-on-5. We've got it under control ourselves.
Wow. In chat, in Cuzzz we trust. Nadeshot 6, Cuzzz 7. What a play. That's 5 rounds in a row for this team. Right? They have been on, they were on match point, needed to be perfect for 4. They pull it off and then win first round of OT. 5 in a row. That's better than anything we've seen out of the Nadeshot team at this point. The best they could muster was 4 in a row. And the fact that, you know, we expected Cuzzz to do better on this map. I don't think either of us said, no, they're definitely going to win. It's definitely going to be dominating. It was going to be close all the way to the end. And we're in OT. And now Nadeshot, for the first time in 6 rounds, is going to get their opportunity to run defense, which was dominating. They had a 5-1 defensive half. This has been a very defensive-sided clubhouse today. So Cuzzz is either going to send this thing into OT, which advantage on their side because they get to play defense again in round 15, or it's over here. Either way, that is a significant advantage for Cuzzz, it feels like, going into the end of clubhouse.
No doubt that defense in round 15 is huge for Cuzzz. They can go back to either Cash and CC, which they won the only time they defended, or Gym and Bedroom, which they lost once but have won the last 2 times they played it. Nadeshot Help in their last attack looked uncharacteristically slow to clear a roam that wasn't even really there. So on the sites that have less roam games, who's to say they won't take a long time to clear them too? But it seems like the confidence is gone from Nadeshot Help. And as a result, not a single person on this defensive side is looking to contest anybody early on. The only person who's even close to roaming, you could argue, is Stentor, who's playing the main staircase. And even that is kind of just a position that you hope to fall back from later after burning some time thanks to using the smoke canisters. But no time wasted for the attack in terms of pressuring right next to where Stentor is. They've already opened up that main hallway, the floor of the main hallway at least, thanks to the ram. And they've gotten the Arsenal hatch open as well.
And if they can bait out some of these smokes early, right, and maybe bait out, they've got 3 C4s on the board too. That's going to be a significant piece of this defensive utility they're going to need to try and clear out before this thing gets too close, because that could stop and execute in its tracks. But Look at this. On the stairs, goes for the shot. No, he backs off the engagement. Good trigger discipline there on the Cuzzz side. But J Guns to open it up again.
Again. How is it always Jay? It's been a while since he's been the one to find the opening kill. He even took the opening death last time, but it seems like he just needed to get back on the board. But that wasn't a solo effort. That was a team coordinated effort to flush that player out of that power position. And now they're going to try and do the same under the players in dirt. It's Eddie. He's getting walked down by Boots. The shotguns aren't going to land for much. The C4 goes out, but he ADS is in perfect timing. A player right behind him is actually able to take him down. But look at how much health Bino lost for that. Epic is the one who has to make the play to get this round back. Otherwise, Cuzzz have fully taken over. But Benz will get the case kill on a Reese. That's the case gone. That's Kitchen who's now getting walked up on. But Zach is ready. And they're back at the advantage. But they're continuing to walk into church. Not ready for Fens. But he's very low on HP. These last two players very alone for Cuzzz, and Fens is flashed out. He could easily die for it. He will die for it. J Guns, can you save your again? It's AKs, this position that's been so much trouble for so long. For Cuzzz trying to clear it out, but they finally have the info. They may finally have
He gets it!
It gets in map 3. Pro League players might get sent home in the qualifier by console players.
What is going on, my friend? What an insane end to Clubhouse. That is absolutely wild. And what looked like it was going to be a one-sided mess at the beginning of this, 4 rounds in a row for Nadeshot at the start of this thing, to an unbelievable end, 6 in a row for the Cuzzz team. That was a crazy finish to a map. One of the best we've seen in this entire qualifier.
And of course, it's J Guns in a 1-on-2. It's always J Guns, man. It's always gonna be him. And that was not an ending that anybody could have expected. It's not even an ending. We've still got Nighthaven Labs run.
That's right. We get an opportunity for one more map here, because now tied up in the best of 3, and like the rest of this bracket, it has come down to a best of 1 to decide who is going to close qualifiers. I gotta believe they are going to be ready to get this next map going super quick, but we will take a quick break, get this thing set back up. But man, what a wild one. Appreciate everybody being here for the SI LCQ. What's up, and welcome back, fellow Siege spectators and players. It is time for map 3. Honestly, can't believe that it's taken all 3 maps to get here, because Nadeshot looked unbelievable on map 1 and at the start of map 2. But damn, the comeback that nobody saw coming, Cuzzz absolutely destroyed it, my friend. Happy, thanks for being here with me for this best of 3.
It has been such a pleasure. That last map was so cinema. We saw the 7-2 win on map number 1. We saw a 6-2 lead on map number 2, and then it was 6 rounds in a row from Cuzzz, including a 1v2 at the very end from J Guns to get him 18 kills on the entire map. So incredible individual performance out of him specifically, but generally that whole team was playing incredibly well. Reese had some great plays. Boots had some great individual moments as well. Just a really solid game across the board from Cuzzz. And now we get into Nighthaven Labs, a map that you would think is going to favor Nadeshot LFO, right? Because it's newer.
For sure.
It's like, it feels like the structure could maybe come into play here. But I'm looking at how big and how open this map is, and all I'm thinking about is how many lurking opportunities there are for the players of Cuzzz who love those lurks so much.
One of the other things too is there's a couple maps that the console players truly love, and Clubhouse was definitely one, and we saw that shine through at the end of map 2. Nighthaven's another. They also really enjoy playing on this map. We saw it a ton of times. So get to see this one here, sort of the two favorites. I think again gives this Cuzzz team just a little bit of a boost. The problem is you are playing Nadeshot, LFO, standby LFO, whatever we want to call them. The guys that were in Pro League all the way through Stage 1 and Stage 2, and they have been on a tear overall, being on this stream for the most of Open Qual number 2. They've only lost a few games overall, one to Aimkey's team at the end of Qual number 1, and then that map was the only other map that they've lost in the qualifiers at this point. So crazy good run so far, but the guys that have handed them the loss that are still in it, Cuzzz ready? Could they do it again?
Attackers need
You
to
have
locate
to
and defuse
think
as
that
many
they
bombs
could,
as they
right?
can.
You can't count Cuzzz out anymore. As much as everybody loves to count out the console players, as much as I myself, admittedly, have been prone to do that from time to time, it's at the point where it's not something you can afford to do if you're truly trying to look at the game from an unbiased perspective. It is a very tough spot for them to be in at the moment. Or a very tough spot for specifically Nadeshot help to be in, because now you have all the pressure on you, right? I know you said earlier that the pressure was on Cuzzz. I actually think it's the opposite. I think Nadeshot are the ones coming into this as the team who, you already lost one qualifier as a Pro League team, but you could always say, oh, look, it's the best one, right? We're playing against another team that's very good, and we were in the same side of the bracket as another Pro League team. So, you could make all the excuses in the world, if you want to call it that. But now you're the only Pro League team in this qualifier. The only team who was in Pro League last stage, that is, that's in this qualifier. And Cuzzz are a team that, just should never, in theory, be beating you in this position. And they already took a nap off of you. If they lose one too many rounds too early on, I easily could see the mental just getting away from them. They could very easily go on to lose the rest of this series if they don't start this map off on the right foot.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point, right? We saw, it felt like J Guns was sort of the catalyst that started the Cuzzz comeback happening on that previous map. And initially it was all him, right? Individual heroics across the board for him specifically, and then it helped enable the rest of the team, elevated their gameplay, got the mental back in the box, and they completely turned that thing around. If they carry that same kind of momentum here into Nighthaven, I think Nadeshot is going to be in a really difficult position. For sure, all the pressure was on Cuzzz on that last map, but I'm going to agree with you. All the pressure now on Nadeshot. This is the expectations extremely high for this team to win. Everyone thinking that, Cuzzz is the last man standing, but they're not really the team that's going to find a win here. This time, though, honestly, it could go either way for me.
Yeah, for sure. I think you got to start to realize that Cuzzz really could make a statement in this map. And so far, they haven't made one, which is unique because it's a very slow start to a round for a team who doesn't often do that. J Guns is really taking his time. They're waiting for Nadeshot LFO to make the mistake and overpeak. That's what they're hoping on. They're not trying to force anything themselves. They haven't really been trying to force any of these gaps so far. And as a result, a slower start to rounds than we're used to, but still, with a minute to go, they're already just outside the objective. They could easily start to find a couple different lurk avenues here from this point on, but Bino through the floor is able to kill Boots. That is a big pick for him to find, but Reese into the site gets one more. A good trade in for Epic, and now they're going to be aware of the threat directly into the objective that's coming through from Cuzzz, so they'll have to be worried about that, but Zach kills Letters.
Oh no!
That is not something you can let happen. They just found the down onto Epic, so you would think that it was a good opportunity for them to get back into the round, but as its flank is spotted out, J Guns could easily still find an opportunity later on. He's got Devin caught in the corner. This is a very good position for me, as every advantage in this engagement, but now stuck thanks to the environment. Devin will kill himself, but he takes Jay with him. 1 versus 2 now for Zach Killa, with the last 2 players prone inside of CC. Actually, looks like, well, no, he is still prone back there, but he didn't pop up soon, so I think Zach just completely forgot he might have been there. He was waiting until the perfect opportunity, and Eddie was able to close it out. Nadeshot LFO barely hang on, but they hang on all the same.
What a wild interaction there with the environmental ingredient. I mean, Devin
Oh yeah.
says, "You know what? Just I'm gonna send it, take down their top frag, kill the mental, even if I lose my life in the process." But those two huge moments there for Nadeshot, the Cuz TK, and then the environmental gradient kill in the corner. Wild gave them just the boost that they needed in a position at a time when it looked like they were going to fall again to this team. So the six in a row onslaught, the six in a row momentum there from Cuz is now ended, at least. A big mental
Defenders,
victory
protect your
there for
bombs from being
Nadeshot.
defused
Yeah,
by
it's on the
attackers.
new map, but it shows that they can be beaten here, which honestly we expected. So, Cuz, I'm not worried about it at this point. Still plenty of time to come back. Nadeshot at least showing that they can still find a way to win.
That's a good way to get that win back on the board. Remember what it feels like, because man, it must have been. It could have been like an hour since they won a round of siege, given how long they had to wait between the breaks. That was a big win for them, especially since it definitely wasn't
5 seconds
all
left.
the way looking like it was a guaranteed win, right? They started things off pretty well, but Cuz were consistently fighting back. I think the big mistake from that last round, though, was the TK from Zach. He nearly brought it back himself. It was one person standing on Nadeshot at the end. If you get the teammate that Zach had up for a little bit back into it, and it's a 3-on-3 thanks to the downed Epic, that's a close round. That could even be a Cuz win if they're still able to get the individual plays that they found in that round from that point onward. Either way, a round win for Nadeshot help all the same. And a roam clear incoming for Cuz is a lot of different members of Nadeshot LFO all across the map, but 30 seconds in, they're already making really good progress, taking a lot of map control very fast, as we know they love to do.
This is what I was talking about when we were watching Clubhouse play out, where Nadeshot was feeling very confined from a defensive perspective, like bunkering back down into sight, holding on to Jim Bedroom with no extension. That was uncharacteristic of the way that they had been playing some of their previous matches. And this is a great example of it, right? You got Epic upstairs on 2F, everybody holding on to this first floor, only one player downstairs in the basement. Nadeshot's playing very roam heavy here on Nighthaven, and that felt more like what we expected out of this team. And to have the first pick go down again, I'm going to say it 5v4 with 1:30 left in the game. Nadeshot a little bit on the back foot this time. They're on defense, so a slightly stronger position and better intel coming out here, as you see. Eddie, look at that. Just knowing where the Solus is at, she's in a little bit of a dangerous spot.
Oh, but she's not worried at all. Or it's not the Solus. It's actually Fens on the Malusi coming through to help out Solus. As Reese seemed to think that Eddie was all by himself. Now Letters is getting shot at from the second floor. They're very quickly realizing that this defensive side is presenting a lot more roamers than they were expecting. And now Letters has lost the diffuser way far away from all of his teammates. Boots is going to lose a lot of HP too. He's actually gone fully down. And this round is completely turned on its head against Cuz. It was a 5-on-4. Now it's only a 2-on-4 for Cuz, with two roamers still to deal with, both of them right next to each other. The nade over the top should be enough to pressure the Solus out, but Zach wasn't ready for it. And so that's a down onto Zach, and it's Jay left alone in a 1 versus 4. Another nade onto his position is enough, in tandem with the gun, to get the frag back. But there's still more roamers to try and contend with. It's still a problem yet to be solved, and it's likely that it never will be, because with 30 seconds to go, and Jay, no case in hand, not even close to the objective, and that last roamer walking back to site to try and play off his teammates, it is not looking likely that he'll have much of anything to say about this round. Can't even just drop straight into the Animus hatch. He'll have to go through cargo, but look at what everybody's looking at on this defensive side. They're all staring at the bottom of this cargo staircase. They know that's the only place he could possibly go, and they don't even know if it's worth it to try. Shots to the wall won't even kill Fens. And it's Nadeshot help with their second round in a row.
And what a big turnaround there for that round, right? Again, halfway through it, Cuz still had the man advantage, but you said it immediately after we talked about it. Way more roam presence than Cuz I think was expecting. Right? The Soul is playing, even though they had some intel on her, unaware that Fens and them Lucy was also playing in Warehouse, goes to try and get the pinch move on Solus, and that completely falls apart. That was the turning point for sure for the round. And I think Cuzzzzz is going to have to play this one a little bit more carefully now, understanding that Nadeshot was ready to play a significantly heavier roam game. So even though we watched it on stream yesterday to see that very heavy roam game on Nighthaven,
Attackers
Cuz
need
was
to locate and
actively
defuse as
playing
many
games
bombs
on
as they
other
can.
streams and didn't get a chance to watch it, right? They would have had gone back and
Attackers have
VOD
located a
reviewed or
bomb.
something in the couple hours they had to sleep over the last night to learn some of that piece of it. So to me, it feels like that sort of caught them off guard, maybe not unexpectedly, but they're definitely going to have to change up the style versus what they were playing on Clubhouse and be a little bit more careful around this team. But statistically, again, Nadeshot picking the worst site on the map. It's not terrible, but certainly Kitchen is a more difficult site to
10 seconds
hold.
to go.
That should help Cuz
Yeah.
out just a bit.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of this site
5
really much
seconds
at all.
remaining.
Personally, I think it's just so, like, you look at the atmosphere of the site. If meeting has so many windows into it, that's a control you need to take. There's one doorway you can use to get through the rest of the second floor to try and pressure a meeting. They have a nomad, so that'll probably be useless for the rest of the round. And then you can use that to try and pressure lobby, and then really you just walk in from lobby, maybe with a little bit of pressure elsewhere. Feels like there's not a ton that's required to really think about how to attack into this objective. We've also got Ash charges too, so those could be used to deal with some of the Kiba barricades or to deal with the deployable shield. I'm kind of surprised we've seen Azami get into this game up to this point because we know she was such a big issue last map. But this time around, Cuz not worried about those Azami barricades. They're just trying to lurk forward and see if they can find an early kill.
Yeah, spending more time upstairs on that second floor again, maybe expecting the roam game here. And it's both Fens and Devin holding down spots upstairs. And there's the droning happening. They know they've got Fens holding onto the server side, but he's playing right next to the hatch, so has the easy escape if required. Epic is also holding on to meeting in a solo hold. Oh no, Bino's over there as well. Those two guys are really right now sort of surrounded in a trio of Cuz players, but not giving up that space yet. And look at that, wins one versus Zach Hill.
Zach did find Epic just before that, though, so that top floor control is being lost. Fens will find J Guns, though. That's a really nice pick, because there's no response to that from Cuz. Looking more like Lair here, where we were seeing some early kills. But there's a good drop down, and Devin gets caught from behind. Now suddenly Bino recognizes he's on the hot seat, and he isn't up to the task. Not the man for the job today. The finish comes through onto center. Boots can start to lurk here, but he's going to get caught. Now Fens and his teammate, both coming in from the lounge and vending side of things, will have to try and make a stand up against this diffuser. But where can Reese get in? Eddie's already made his way back into kitchen, so he's in the thick of this site. These long angles are good for the ACOGs, but Eddie doesn't need to challenge them until these attackers run deeper into the objective. But Reese is actually so far in. He's already right up in Eddie's face, but Eddie is taking down his teammate. And so Reese has got to try and get him first, but Eddie fades all the way back. He wants to let Reese plant, but more importantly, he wants to work around the information that they have to play with off of presumably this Scopos. Now it has just been broken. Maybe there's more info to play with. Reese gonna try and plant in the corner of kitchen. He wants to bait out this swing first and then try and deal with them as he gets them to swing in the way that he wants, but they're nowhere near each other. They're so spread out. They're making this so difficult for Holly. And he just doesn't know if he's up to the task. Tries to bait the plant again. This time he might actually stick to it. Fens is back into the site. Reese got the plant down, though. He can easily look behind him and find Fens. He didn't quite find the kill the first time around, but the pistol's
So
enough.
close.
It's the third round in a row for Nadeshot help. Despite how bad it got at the end of Clubhouse to start off Labs, they seem like the mental is better than ever.
Yeah, once again, Reese in that endgame scenario, getting the plant down, playing the ace. It was a familiar situation he found himself on several different times during the Clubhouse map and on Lair. And that was really sort of the start of the downfall at the end of Lair, like talking about selling his teammates, pointing out which floor they were playing on. That was really what tanked it. So J Guns needed to come back and raise that mental back up, and it's time. Now, once again, Nadeshot goes for the Mav rather than the ace. And maybe it's because they've been able to hold on 3 in a row here. Solid first quarter for this Nadeshot team that they don't need to worry about the ace coming out from Reese. But This from the Cuzzz side, getting rid of the Valkyrie, I think certainly helps, giving 11 a lot of extra intel across the map, forcing Nadeshot into using some of the other intel ops. And if Eddie sticks, uses that pulse, plays down below, that could be a devastating play there for Cuzzz.
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many bombs as they can.
Nadeshot, after going flawless through the first 3, will get to run back every single site if they want to.
Attackers have discovered the
Up
location
to the
of a
second
bomb.
floor, they'll go first, as that was the one they won in round 8. This was close, though. I think a lot of these rounds have been pretty close. I think the basement one wasn't very close, though Cuzzz did have a pretty good start to that round. For the most part, though, it's been a pretty competitive round-by-round map thus far. I just think Nadeshot have a better feel for these tough situations when things really start to get difficult. Nadeshot are much more composed. They seem like they understand the map just a little bit better and the intricacies of it. And those lurk opportunities that I was talking about being excited to see for Cuzzz haven't really been as prevalent as they have been, or as at least as I had expected them to be. Excuse me.
Yeah, I think part of that is because the Nadeshot roam game was significantly more prevalent and successful than I think they were expecting across the board, right? I think they were expecting to have a little bit more opportunity, and wow. What a W play there from Nadeshot. They go for the bandit trick on the main IT wall. You have Boots hop in with the Ash to try and shoot out the floor from below, and Eddie, playing the pulse, goes from the basement up. And what a fantastic play that they had set up. I don't know that that would work with all of the different teams, whether or not that's a Pro League style play, but man, Cuzzz was baited directly into it.
It's the perfect read on the situation. It seems like that read that I thought could be the way you're looking at Labs, where it's, the structure of the map and the extra experience on game days for Nadeshot LFO coming to help them, is really playing out right before very eyes. Another one's gonna go down. It's Zakilla to fall next. And they've still got Devin presenting himself as a problem on this main breach. Reese actually got into the site though. They're trying to get a plant down, but it's not gonna work. Devin killed Jay, Fens got Reese, and Letters got the hell out of Dodge because he knew that was not a winning play. He's gonna try and drop down and go to water stairs, but that's not gonna work either. Nadeshot, LFO, making it look like Clubhouse was just a moment in time. It might have just been all a dream at this point, because they are back on the horse like they've never been kicked off.
Oh, and there it is. Damn. Don't let the mental chalk the game, because, you had 6 in a row, an unbelievable Clubhouse. This is a team that can win. They can get it done against the pros. Nadeshot is vulnerable. We've seen that happen. But they've got to keep the vibes. They got to keep the mental high. They got to keep that energy matched at that intensity, because Nadeshot will absolutely just smash them down, kill by kill by kill. And that's the way it's been falling. 4 in a row for this team. Like you said, they've been able to run the complete gamut of all of the sites in this case.
Attackers need to locate and defuse bombs.
They're able to just run the board at this point. So what are you going to do if you're Cuzzz on the attack? You don't want to try and change up. They have been successful. There's been some moments of brilliance. Put Jay maybe in a position to get some of those crazy kills. Put Boots back on a DMR. I don't know. What else are you thinking, Happy?
I don't know. It's tough, right? I think the basement site is, you're gonna have opportunities. Try and make it get a little bit better, just because you're looking at, it's so much map control that Nadeshot has to contest, that Cuzzz could maybe try and find an isolated pick or two all by themselves. I think that's what they're gonna have to get back to. I think it's mostly about Nadeshot giving them ways in though, because if Nadeshot plays around each other on those roam games like they did last time out of the 4-on-5, it's going to start to get really difficult. I feel like Cuzzz, this time around, though, maybe just a little quicker to go at the site directly when you recognize that so much of that presence is away from it. That could be an adaptation maybe you make, but even then, Nadeshot did a good job of controlling the relevant control above the objective. And Bino's going to kill Boots already. This is a rough start. Letters is in through top water, but that
there it
wasn't
is.
Expected. That pass by Epic, and that's what we're talking about with those lurk plays. consistently so fast out of Cuzzz. Jay is also in through lobby. There's some potential here for these individuals of Cuzzz to start to get back into the game if they continue to get opportunities given to them.
We got 2 minutes left in this round. Cuzzz attack. I mean, you're missing, unfortunately, the axe charges of boots, but they don't have a mirror on board that you need to specifically try and clear out some of that. They do have this defensive utility. It would be significantly easier to try and get rid of with the ash, but you still have Jay alive. You still have got letters, right? The roam clear opportunity here. I love that they switched into playing the Jackal because that's where Nadeshot was beating them was some of these lurk plays. So yeah, go ahead and look, find these guys there. Pinch move in the kitchen as well. A zombie sitting ready, and that works. Well, I thought it worked. Never mind. She's going to escape with Kivas. No way.
How does center keep getting away? All the King's horses and all the King's men were not enough to get rid of center. The Jackal track is going to try and give them some extra information. It's going to very quickly the corner, though, and Letters is going to find that opportunity to Eddie. Cuzzz with a really good advantage, very close to the site as well. Nobody left on that roam game to possibly throw them off. It's just maybe a couple micro positions that might throw them off a bit, but Reese is able to take down center. That is another good pick for Cuzzz to find to get back into this round. A drone left on Zach if he wants to use it. A couple Jackal tracks left as well, just to try and get a good idea of where these last couple players are, and they will track down one of them. It's Bandit, who's been spotted by that track. The other one should be known very soon inside of Tank. They can easily play for this plant here, but Nadeshot want them to go for that plant. In part because Bino's got a C4, and in part because they just don't think they're going to do it. Zach is going to call their bluff, though, and start to get that plant down. As the main wall gets opened up, that's a very good angle to find. The C4 also wasn't well placed enough to shut the plant down, but Fens...
Oh, tragic.
...down Reese on that long cross. Jay needs to find this kill onto the player in sight. He's getting help from the teammate on the side, though, and Fens gets a second one. They're starting to throw this away, and it's all hinged on Zach Killa, prone on the diffuser with Letters behind him and Exo to try and cover. They know that one's coming from the nanotech hallway, and Letters
no way.
He can't do it.
No way!
That one's two. This game is not gonna last much longer. We thought the mental was chalked already, and they lost the 4v2 post plant.
4v2 post plant. Once again, Cuzzz is doing all of this right. Right, they managed to get the plant down, objective-based gameplay. They had Exo locked down. It looked like they had the cross set up from on the other side of assembly outside. And then it just falls apart. Reese goes down, so they don't no longer have the cross set up, so that way the Exo side is certainly less protected. You lose a 1v1 fight in Exo directly. And then, yeah, the rest of the Nadeshot team could just swing in a 2v1 scenario and turn that into a post-plant win for Nadeshot. 5 in a row. Man, this Cuzzz team goes 6 in a row. Nadeshot 5 in a row. What a pendulum swing we have been on today. That is wild, and they need to turn this mental around right now. We saw a 5-1 half win that previous map. Don't know whether or not they've got it in them again here. Now, it is attack on Nighthaven, and they may feel way more comfortable on defense. So, you got to win at least one, though. They have to pick up one round here on the attack, you know, to give them at least a little bit of breathing room. The 6-0 half means you can't make a single mistake on Nighthaven.
You've been in this position before on Clubhouse, but
10 seconds left.
even then, you had a couple rounds on the
5
board.
seconds
You won
left
an
before
attacking
insertion.
round. You weren't in the chat saying the game was over. You weren't doing that either. It at least looked like you had faith in your teammates to come back on defense. I feel like that faith might be lost at this point. Nadeshot one round away from going 6-0 on defensive labs, leaving Cuzzz with no room to breathe as they get to their defensive sides. And after that last round, if they couldn't close that one out, I don't know if it's on the cards today for Cuzzz to even get a single attacking round on labs. Clubhouse was great, and that's good shots from Letters, but he's already getting pressured from below, so he's got to start to fade away and just spray through the wall, hope and pray that he ends up taking down Fens. This guy's 9-1. You're gonna have to do a lot more than that to try and take down the great loss of Nighthaven Labs.
There it is! Is that the start of the comeback? No, I'm overhyped for one single kill, but honestly, I would love to see that be the thing that makes this, that completely changes the course of this game. They needed to find one. J-Guns finally gets that opening pick. They take down the Azami. Fens was 9-2, the top frag on this team. So that is a huge mental victory for this team. And he was upstairs. Big piece of this round game in play. So now, Bino is still holding on to that 2F side. They need to watch out for him, and it sounds like, or looks like, they've at least got some intel that he's holding on to that spot.
Now you can see Cuzzzzz starting to spread out, look for different players across the map. That's a really good info from that vending drone. You spot the pulse in the basement. That's going to let you know that the C4s are a problem, but it didn't let you know soon enough because Zakilla not prepared for the C4 out of Epic. He gets taken down by it. Dokubi Call into the site is going to get good information on Bino in storage, or rather Devin in storage. He's the only one inside the site for now. So if Letters finds him, this could easily be an opportunity, but Devin's going to find Boots. They're going to try and cover this play back out of the site, but Reese is in a great spot to not let this flank get denied. The shotgun around the corner isn't good enough. Letters with another one. They get a plant down, but this one is looking a lot more shaky than last time, and they couldn't even close that one out. So how about Holly Tupper? Do you have a 1 versus 3 on the cards for us? Damage to the floor on Devino. It's not quite enough to close it out. He
Double
can't
whip.
kill anybody, no matter how many shots he lands, and no matter how many post plants they try. Cuzzzzz cannot get a single round on the attacking side of Nighthaven Labs. The dream starts to fade away as 1 round away from closed qualifiers. Our Nadeshot help.
I mean, there's a reason that Nadeshot is the pro team. They've managed to pull it off. They have had an incredible run so far, and we were looking to see, I mean, certainly everybody was thinking that we were going to see the relegated pro teams in the SI closed quals coming out of the opens. And Envy pulled it off last weekend. Looking like Nadeshot is going to pull it off here. But Cuzzzzz put up a hell of a good fight on Clubhouse. I don't know what happened to this team in between that short break we had. Completely fallen apart at this point. And I know they got a lot of fans in the chat. They made fans out of us after that crazy comeback. And I'm a fan of Great Siege, so I want to see the comeback. I want to see that fight in this dog. Let's see them come back. Hold on, my friend.
We'd love to see it. Do Cuzzzzz even believe in it, though, is the question. It's one thing if, if Cuzzzzz were, still in high spirits, it felt, or they've been keeping some of these rounds competitive. I think most of them have been competitive on a round by round basis. But it's another thing entirely when Nadeshot, it feels like, have been going that extra mile to try and chalk them in the all chat. They've been going out of their way to try and make sure that Cuzzzzz are in as bad a mental state as possible. They're basically rage baiting them. It seems like to an extent Cuzzzzz have kind of taken the bait. Still not giving up yet, though. Could always be worse. We have seen forfeits in this qualifier. You could always have less faith in your teammates. As long as you're still in the lobby, there's a fraction of hope still left. And we saw that fraction of hope turn into so much on Clubhouse, so maybe there's a chance it could happen on Nighthaven Labs. Hey, when it happened on Club, it happened on the defensive side. Cuzzzzz haven't succeeded in attacking at all on any of their maps today. Or at least not so far in this best of 3. Against Yippe, they had a good attacking side, but it's safe to say this is a situation they're used to being in.
Yeah, that's true. I agree with you that they can pull it off. It's on defense. They've been in this situation before, but certainly the mental appears to be a bit of an issue right here. And I know in case we hadn't said it again recently enough, Nadeshot is on match point scenario. They are 1 round away from qualifying to the SI LCQ Open Qualifier number 2. And oh no, J-Guns gets caught jaywalking across the door. Epic makes him pay for it. And now we're in a very tough situation. Cuz hold out, my friends. Find a round win here. We want to see it happen.
J-Guns doesn't have the faith. He's the first one down, and he already seems to think it's over. They might just, as a team, be giving up. Letters spotted in that position. dealt with right after. Boots is going to run out of the building next, it looks like. The next one to try to do something outlandish, but it's everything that Nadeshot are expecting. That's a good C4 out of Reese. At least to get something back. You still haven't managed to recoup that man advantage, though. Still aggressive towards electrical is that Kaid, and that was not the play. He got flashed out. He tried to still hold his ground, hoping they wouldn't expect it, but they did. And that's all that Nadeshot have done all around, is just expect the unexpected. That's what Cuzzzzz want. They want to try and catch you off guard a little bit, but it just doesn't look like it's happening today, with Zach and Boots still standing inside of the site. Still trying to get aggressive to do what they can to shut this attack down.
I love that these guys aren't giving up. They're not done yet. They want to try and find him, and it's a 2v4. It's not the end of the world. Okay, 1v4 might be the end of the world. In fact, was the end of the world. Man, what a tough way to go out here on the final map of this LCQ.
It really was. It was a valiant effort all across the board. You don't take a map off of players who've spent the last, or for the most part, other than Center, players who've spent the last year or so in Pro League. It doesn't happen by fluke, but it certainly could have been a lot closer on that last map. A valiant effort by Cuzzzzz to get so close and yet still looking so far from being prepared for the LCQ at the very end. And that last map, I don't think a full representative of how close that series was, but
Not at all.
definitely felt like by the very end, Nadeshot helped doing what we all knew they were going to do, or we all felt like was a guarantee, taking a spot in the closed qualifier, meaning that every single Pro League team that participated in the LCQ has made it through from the open quals.
And I know we didn't get a chance to say it during the match, but Cards rated us there at the end because his match was over. That was a Karn & Co. victory. 2 maps to 0, 7-4, 7-5. So they move on into the closed qualifiers as well. So that means the field is completely set at this point. Cloud9, DZ, Oxygen as the Pro League teams, and then Envy, now LFO, and then Alix and SOS as the other teams to round out, plus Karn & Co. So we've got a very good T1 plus T2 setup for the close qualifiers that are happening in January. A little bit of break for Christmas, but honestly, I was hoping for a better Map 3 with how good Map 2 was. I mean, that was the hype that they brought at the very end, and I wanted that to carry through to Map 3 so bad, but Nadeshot is just that team. They are good. They can shut down and not fall victim to the mental after a crushing defeat on Clubhouse on their side. They answered back with resiliency that I think is going to serve them very well in the closed qualifier.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that they'll be ready to go. I'm excited to see how Karn & Co. does, because that's really on my radar coming into the qualifier. Not the team that I had expected to see making it this far, but they did it really convincingly as well, as it was a pretty solid win over Team Kiri. It was a 2-0. Specifically, it was 7-5, 7-4, 7-5. So, arguably even more convincing than Nadeshot help. I think maybe the Clubhouse was definitely rough, but also Nadeshot help definitely dominant in the other teams. But either way, I think it's time to send us home, and I get to say something I have wanted to say for quite some time. As the lights start to dim and the jukebox starts to sing closing time, as always, you don't have to go home,
but you can't stay here.
Heyo!
Let's go.